Is it time to take the roll?
I think so, Mayor. It's 1:15. Looks like it.
It sure is. Who do we have online?
Well, let's see what we've got from council. See,
I'm here.
Dorothy, Mayor.
I'm missing Ken. I'm missing Lillian. I'm missing Will. I'm missing Russell.
Okay, well, we'll give it a couple minutes.
Dorothy. I'm looking for John DeWorkin.
Well, I told you we needed some more time. 1:15 at least, but hopefully they'll be back in.
Peanut butter and jelly sandwich.
Atlanta bread. I had a desire for Atlanta bread. Special chicken sandwich with cranberries and nuts. Delicious.
Where's your closest Atlanta bread? I'm drawing a blank.
Cherrydale.
Oh.
You take Furman Hall Road though, you know, it's just, you get right, come in the back way. It's really, takes, anyway.
Sounds like we need one downtown, Mayor.
We used to have one.
Have one, yeah.
Ooh.
We used to have one and we do need one. They have a selection that nothing downtown can quite match, in my opinion.
Yeah, bring it back.
They were ahead of their time. We had a Fuddruckers downtown and we had Atlanta bread. Both those are much missed.
But not a single story one, please.
Yeah, that'd be appropriately mixed use. Yeah. Well, look, okay, Will's on there and Russell's on. So everybody here now? Is Ken Gibson, Lillian?
I see Lillian and Ken.
I'm here.
Okay.
I just didn't have my video on. Oh, look at me, I'm all blurry.
There you go.
Okay.
Hey,
I'm still waiting on John DeWorkin, but everyone else is in place.
yeah.
Okay. Well, we'll go ahead and kick it off. We do have a lot to cover, and we can catch John up. This is the part of the retreat where we take a deeper dive into council's adopted priorities. We did a great job last year coming out of the retreat, identifying a top 10 list, of which we then translated that into an annual work plan. And I think we did a good job of resourcing those priorities in the budget process. We're at that point in time again where we need to go through our priorities, hear an update on our progress. Importantly, moving forward, what are our plans for the next 12 months? But it's also an opportunity for council to weigh in to make sure we're on the right track, that we've got the right priorities. Do we need to amend them, adjust them, add more, reduce some? This is the purpose of this session, to hear from you all. But it also gives our department leads and our work plan leads an opportunity to share their work directly with mayor and council. So with that, we're going to kick it off with Michael Frickson and environmental sustainability.
Thank you, Mr. Manager, and good afternoon, Mayor and members of council. It's a pleasure to be able to talk to you this afternoon. I'm going to be updating you all on some of the sustainability items in the city's annual work plan. I would like to note that many of our city departments and operations have really been doing sustainability action items for quite a while now. And so some of these are, this presentation is an opportunity to highlight some of that work that's been going on for some time now, as well as some of our new initiatives that we have underway. So with that, we'll jump right in. In our environmental sustainability work plan priority area, we have 4 strategic focus areas, and those are sustainability measures, stormwater management, the tree preservation ordinance updates, and enhancing green infrastructure. Under the sustainability measures, this is really focused on clean energy. And at last year's retreat, the City Council received a presentation from our GRAC committee about this Green Source Advantage program. And it's a unique opportunity for the city to participate in a large-scale solar project. Over the course of the last year, the city intervened in the petition before the Public Services Commission and provided comments on the GSA program, and really provided valuable input to make it more applicable and relevant for local governments and universities. And so we've expanded really the opportunity for those types of entities to be able to participate in the program. The final order by the Public Service Commission was approved in January of this year. The city currently has a RFP or an invitation for bids out, and we had a pre-bid meeting earlier this week, actually, and the bids will be due for that here at the beginning of March. The anticipated application date is towards the end of March, and due to limited program capacity, we're hoping to be in a position to apply as soon as those applications open. And we think we're on a good track to be able to do that. There will be more information on this GSA program and the city's potential application coming to council in the coming weeks. With that, I'm going to throw it over to Mike Murphy and Dwayne Cooper to talk about some of the work going on at Unity Park and with some of our other stormwater projects.
Good afternoon, Mayor and Council. Thank you, Michael. So Unity Park in Reedy River, this is one of our largest, maybe the largest sustainability stormwater project the city has ever undertaken. We do plan a site visit for all of council. I know Shannon and Eden are working on that right now to get council out there so you can see all the great work that is happening. Obviously, we're struggling a little bit with the weather, as many are, but so the Unity Park, it's basically 2,300 feet of stream bank stabilization, and this includes removing trees that are what we would call an invasive species or species that is not really beneficial to the site. We are, for every tree that we do remove, we are putting 2 trees back in its place of different breeds and species. So the stabilization project, you can see from the photo down in the bottom left of the picture, is right directly behind the commons area. And what we are doing is widening or pulling the banks back about from 30 to 50 feet on the east side of the river. As we're in that particular picture, we're very close to the CrossFit training facility and the Delano parking lot. So on the Mayberry side of the river, we will not be pulling the stream bank until we get a little bit further down. And then once we get past that, and it'll open up as we get closer to the baseball field area and then all the way to Hudson Street. We are doing habitat restoration. We are doing tree wad installation, and we are trying to reuse and repurpose a lot of the trees that we're taking down as part of bank stabilization for the project. The earthwork that we're doing on the site will improve water quality, which is a big project that we are currently working on with our Reedy River Water Quality Group. So this becomes a best management practice that we will definitely champion. And so that's basically that site. And next slide, Michael, turn it over to Cooper.
Good afternoon. This is for Richland Creek, some of the work we've been doing on Richland Creek. But as Mike mentioned, I just want to say some of the things that we're doing. He mentioned the 5R. We're actually working with members of Friends of the Reedy and some of the other groups in there to do campaigns, informational campaigns about the work that we're doing to increase the water quality of the Reedy River. We're also, we've done several videos concerning the work that's being done Reedy River and Richland Creek and also Unity Park. So trying to get the word out, trying to let everybody know what we're doing and how we're doing it. And Richland Creek is a good example of that. You can see the kind of the before and after pictures, and the after pictures are very important because it lets us know what's working and what isn't. When we do these projects, it's not, everything is not perfect. We're trying to find out what are the best practices to increase the water quality. We're also doing research. We're monitoring the water quality in the streams and in the rivers to try to see what makes a difference and what doesn't. The good thing about this picture is this is where the old railroad trestle used to run across Richland Creek. And we took those footings that were still in the water and we broke them up and we created this riffle, which creates a nice effect and helps to improve the water quality and the clarity, and gives habitat to some of the smaller species of fish and bio life in the stream. Again, there's an enhancement using natural systems, soil lifts, in-stream structures, constructed riffles, and invasive removal and native plantings. This is pretty important because some of the other projects that I've seen, the actual invasives have started to take back over the banks sooner than the native plants can take over. So maintenance is really important when you're talking about stream bank restorations. Next slide. This is another shot of the Reedy River. This is up near, that's a Cleveland Street Bridge in the bottom of or in the background of the second picture. Same thing. We did benching, as Mike mentioned that they're doing on Unity Park. We benched this back to kind of slow down the flow when we get these heavier rains. We also covered up the sewer line, which was good. Every time you walk through the park, you saw those big old Rewa sewer lines. And that was basically, we took that fill out of the floodplain and put it up on out of the floodplain to create a little bit more space in the floodplain. Again, removing those invasive species and replacing with native plantings, enhancement using the natural system, soil lift, and stream structures, constructed riffles, and floodplain interceptor outlet protection. What we're trying to do there is making sure that when the water does get up, as it frequently does in the springtime and in the summer on the Reedy River, we want to make sure that our outfalls are not washing away. So we're taking extra care in the design of those structures to make sure they don't go anywhere. Next slide. This is McPherson, and this is a great one because it has a parking lot with pervious paver, or well, not pervious pavers, but gravel fill pavement system. It also has these bioswales to treat the runoff. We're using a lot of natural processes, soil lifts, in-stream, constructed riffles, that kind of thing in this process. We did some monitoring. This is a stream reach. This is a smaller creek that dumps into Richland Creek. And we're doing monitoring on Richland Creek. But after this project, it really didn't show a big improvement. This is such a small reach compared to the rest of the Richland Creek that it didn't show that improvement. However, part of this is a visual improvement. And when you go and look at this stream and you look at all the wildlife that's in there, I was amazed at how clear the water was and how good it looked after we did this project. And a lot of times those benefits are visual. You can't measure it or monitor it, but I can tell that after a year or so this being in, a lot of those things are functioning. Everything's growing in nicely, and it's definitely working. Next slide. One of the things that we did working with the infill committee is we're looking at guidelines to mitigate the stormwater runoff on single-family homes that are not part of a larger subdivision or that aren't required to do any type of water quality as part of a minor stormwater permit. So basically, every single-family home, if these are passed, every single-family home will have some type of water quantity and or quality mitigation. And in this case, we're kind of doing both. One of the concerns on infill is stormwater runoff. So you take one big lot with a small house and divide it into two lots with two big houses. There's an increased runoff. And so when I presented many different options to the group, And one of those options we looked into was providing this mitigation using items similar to what Greenville County is using, which are dry wells, bioswales, pervious pavers, things like that. We also asked them, what do we want to mitigate? Is it all impervious? Is it all new impervious? Removed and replaced impervious, or just keep it a maximum impervious area? And the decision by the committee was to mitigate all new impervious and all removed and replaced impervious. So if you have an existing house and you tear it down, then you have to mitigate all new impervious. So we took a look at this guide from Greenville County, and we're going to make some modifications to it, and probably include a few different items, more on the quantity side, but they rely heavily on infiltration. And anytime you infiltrate, it's a water quality benefit for sure. And it also gets rid of some of that volume that would end up in the streams and in the rivers. And, that can cause erosion and sedimentation downstream. So it helps to cut down on that volume. Next slide.
Hey, Dwayne, may I interject real quick with a question, please? I'm sorry to break your stride. Is there any way to estimate what these proposed infill stormwater mitigation measures would do in terms of a reduction against what has been the place without these mitigation efforts?
Yes, we're going to go through that with the consultant. It's not going to be as big of a reduction, say, for quantity as, say, a large detention pond would be on a large subdivision.
Right.
However, it is going to have a big infiltration volume that it's going to capture on each rain event. So we're going to come up with some comparisons of different items for the quantity and also quality, but we're going to gather some data, and we're going to do some studies on which items are most beneficial in reducing quantity.
Awesome, thank you.
But a similar question, have we measured the impact of what was done in Cleveland Park, through Cleveland Park, especially around McDaniel?
We continue to monitor that as part of the 5R program. We're working with the 5R committee to gather that data. The city has 3 water quality monitoring stations that we've used in the past. We're about to start using them again after we've done some of these improvements. So I don't have the quantitative benefit yet. And a lot of times it takes several of these projects to make any types of, quantifiable results. But hopefully at the end of the 5R, once these have been in place long enough, we'll get some of that data and be able to present.
So as part of the 5R program, Russell, we are working on updating the Reedy River report card based on the efforts that we've been putting into this project for the last 5 years. And so hopefully within the next few weeks, we just had a meeting with all of our different divisions and agencies of the water quality group. And so we will be putting out a report card for you guys to look at in the very near future.
Awesome, thank you.
Hey, Dwayne, sorry, back to that slide you were just on. My apologies. I don't know what lid methods are. What are lid methods? Second bullet item.
LID, it stands for low impact development.
Okay, thanks.
I just want to, before we get out of the water and the Reedy River, these are amazing reports. And we had last year the report that the water quality in the Reedy River as it flows through the city has markedly improved. And I know you're working on a scorecard and report card or whatever. That's going to be really surprising news to people in Greenville, especially longtime people. And I don't think people are totally aware that the improvements really have been made. One of the reasons is some of these modifications are not in places you can easily see, but it's going to become more conspicuous, of course, with Unity Park. But congratulations for all of that. It's got to make a difference, and hopefully we can really celebrate big time when we reach some kind of quantitative marker that you can articulate that water quality has improved that much. And then finally, the removal of the sewer lines or the burying of the sewer lines in Cleveland Park was a big deal. It took a new leadership at REWA to really help make that happen too. We had to have some partners, and that seemed to be something that would never happen, but it did. And Cleveland Park looks a whole lot better because they're not there now.
Well, Wayne, I love the fact that you actually talked about fish in the Reedy River. That's fantastic. That have 2 eyes instead of 3.
Yeah. Well, and to the mayor's point, when we started the 5R process, it was partly because of phosphorus in the Reedy River, and since then the Reedy River's been taken off the impaired list for phosphorus. So that definitely has improved. And we're still looking at other issues such as nitrogen and total suspended solids. So there has been some improvement over the last 10 years. All right, next slide.
Great. Thank you, Dwayne, and thank you, Mike. Really appreciate those updates on stormwater and Unity Park. And now we're going to hear from Shannon on some of the work that's gone into our tree ordinance and tree canopy protection this last year.
Thank you, Michael, and thank you to Mayor and City Council. And as you all know, we have had a cross-departmental staff team that has worked with council support to preserve and protect the tree canopy. I'm very proud of the work that our team has done to really be committed to this project. Of course, we recently completed the updates to the city's tree ordinance, and we look forward to seeing what types of progress we're able to make to the canopy with those changes. Our Rooted in Greenville plan was very successful. Thank you to our communications team for their assistance with all of the drawings, the plans, the photographs. And you may have seen our advertisements for Rooted in Greenville throughout town or in local newspapers. We've set some high goals for improving our canopy, and we look forward to being able to try to meet those goals this annual year. Next slide, please, Michael. Since December, our staff has held 2 successful tree giveaway events. In early December, we had our first tree giveaway event on December 5th at our holiday market. And then on January 30th, we had a drive-through tree giveaway event at the former Cleveland Park stable sites. These events were great. That we gave away our trees in less than 2 hours at our last event. We gave away 200 plus trees at each event. And it's a great opportunity for our staff and community to be able to have enjoyable interaction with each other for something that is for the betterment of our long-term environment. Our team is planning another tree giveaway event in March. And so we're really looking forward to being able to continue this with council support throughout the coming year. And one thing we've really learned is that our community loves redbuds. We can't keep enough redbuds. They really enjoy those trees. And so we will continue to try to find great understory trees that are just as important to our long-term tree canopy as some of our larger shade trees.
Hey, Shannon, so are these giveaways incremental to the goal of 1,000, or are they counting us towards the 1,000?
They're incremental to the goal of 1,000. We'd like to count them toward 1,000. We've given away 400 of these trees thus far.
Well, so our goal of 1,000, we give away 400, that counts as 400. In other words, is the goal of the 1,000 us planting them or us planting them and providing to others to plant?
We would like to do the planting and providing to others to plant. We're continuing to refine our goal for the 1,000 trees as we're looking at opportunities and trying to come up with how we're going to be able to accomplish that. But with the goal, with the fact that we've been able to give away 400 trees already, we'd like to count that towards our overall tree planting goals.
Okay, thanks.
Thank you, Shannon. So some additional updates on sustainability from this past year. There was the designation of the sustainability coordinator in the city manager's office. That would be me. The city participated in ICLEI, their 2020 sustainability cohort, participated in those workshops with, I believe there were somewhere between 10 and 15 other cities from across the country that learned about sustainability best practices across the country and even internationally. So that was a very valuable learning experience, and we're looking to what we might be able to apply here in Greenville. Thanks to our communications department and with some input from other departments such as parking services and our recycling program in Public Works, we were able to promote October as Energy Action Month. And that's a national recognition for the month of October. And that was also done in coordination with the State Energy Office, and really gained some valuable relationships with the staff at the Energy Office, and have continued meeting with them on other initiatives throughout the last year. So we hope to be able to highlight October as Energy Month again this year. We have, through the Energy Office, actually obtained some signage to help further promote our electric vehicle charging stations. We have those in all of the city's parking garages and some other parking lots throughout the city. And I learned this last week that we're actually going to be adding some additional charging stations at some of the city-owned parking facilities, which is great news. GreenLink actually had a sustainability workshop back in January, and I was able to help participate in that and share some of the city's sustainability goals. So I know that that's a new focus for them, or at least one that's receiving some additional attention here lately. And that was really, they're doing a lot there with the Proterra buses and talking about how other ways that they can incorporate sustainability into their operations and their new maintenance facility. And then finally, we've also had a group of students, Dr. Jeffrey Hebron at Furman University. They did some research on various sustainability indicators, and that's looking at national and some international models. And then they actually applied some of that research here to Greenville to see how we're doing on some of those sustainability measures. Looking at the year ahead, we are hoping to finalize the GSA project here in the relatively near future. And like I mentioned, there will be some additional updates coming to council on that initiative here soon. The David Helms Community Center Solar Project is estimated to be complete with construction and installation there by May. So that'll be a major demonstration project and good solar project for one of our city community centers. I'm participating as part of a statewide stakeholder advisory committee on electric vehicles and identifying opportunities and barriers and some of the regulatory environment around charging infrastructure and electric vehicles, fleet policies. It's a good learning experience and just conversation. There's participants from various industry sectors. City of Greenville is the only municipal representative that is serving on that advisory committee. So that's a great opportunity for the city. We will have a Furman Sustainability Student Fellow over the course of the summer. One of the projects that we are targeting for them to be able to help with is an update to the city's emissions inventory, which would be a first step towards updating some of our clean action plans. This was done a couple of years ago, and then this will be an opportunity for that emissions inventory to be updated. We hope to use GRAC and staff to support sustainability initiatives and policies in the GVL 2040 comprehensive plan and perform some specialty research on various sustainability items in the new zoning ordinance as that process gets underway. And then finally, and there's been some support and questions about this recently, but we do hope to move forward with an overall sustainability strategic plan for the city of Greenville with a specific focus on clean energy. And I've got the GRAC committee members right now are researching some other model sustainability plans, doing some research on that front. And this is also an effort that we hope to be able to engage Furman and possibly Clemson on as well. So with that, Mr. Manager or Council, I'm happy to answer any questions, and we can move on to the next section.
Let's get some feedback from council if we could.
Michael, I have a follow-up for you and then one question. I heard from our director of GTA, James Keel, that they'll be adopting their sustainability goals next week.
Okay.
So we had that presentation in January. They've set their goals. They're putting them on paper and making that commitment. I wonder if there's a way, and this is a challenge to staff, just in big picture thinking, that, you know, we're talking earlier in the morning session about carrots for development with affordable housing. A carrot for the one who proposes, and you know, those carrots come in tax credits, those carrots come in perhaps added density. You know, could we think of carrots for green development? So if your development is, you know, I don't know if it's a LEED certification or something to that end, but if a developer is making an investment in their property in a node that is green friendly and notable to that, that comes at some expense at the upfront stage. And how can we incentivize that through our codes? I don't really know the answer, but if we're rewarding development that includes affordable housing, is there a way to reward development that includes clean design? And I think we should. You know, I think that's what makes us part of a progressive city and more attractive and certainly better for our well-being as a Greenville.
That's an excellent question and something that we are looking for in some of these other sustainability plans. And you know, if there's parts of that translate over to the new LMO or something like that, that's something that we can certainly work with the consultants on that front on.
Okay, I'd just like to keep that out there as something to work towards if we can.
I think one place that's going to come up is the redevelopment of Mayberry Street. As we put that out for bid and have developers come, I think we could establish early on, among the many things we may want to establish as goals. One of our goals probably should be that it be a model of green architecture and that kind of thing. And it could provide incentives for that too. But it ought to be that. The park certainly is, and it would make sense that the private development would also reflect those values.
That would be a great model since we control that. That's a great way to start it. I think we could do it, and I think we should.
And I totally agree with that. And because we can do things like wrapping houses, and I mean, there are all kinds of things we can do with that program. But additionally, I'd encourage us to, if y'all remember, GRAC was created 9 years ago as a temporary committee, and when they were created, they had the sole purpose of creating a climate action plan. So I would love for us to continue to, maybe it's part of the sustainability strategic plan, to continue to have a formal document that makes us accountable to what's happening in all areas of the climate. I mean, including air. I don't see a whole lot of air quality stuff in here, but a real comprehensive plan of action. I think we can learn a lot from Charleston and Columbia, who have specific, I think they're city manager level offices of sustainability. Charleston's is a little bit different. Charleston's is more focused on resiliency and problems caused by the coastal issues. But I think we have a real chance to do something phenomenal on creating a true plan.
While we're in this period of feedback and Q&A on this topic, continued kudos to all of this really good body of work over the past 12 months. Certainly tree ordinance has been rather significant of late, and it's something I've been an unabashed proponent of. To the city manager, do we have in the next 30 to 90 days the intent to bring forward through a work session some sort of, I don't want to say implementation plan, but that's what I have in mind. The how do we mobilize the resources necessary, personnel and budgetary, to do what we intend to do with the tree ordinance? And specific to that would be some sort of pro forma, I would imagine, on any revenues generated from it, how it gets redeployed to support the effort.
Yeah, that's good question, Councilman. That'll certainly be part of our budget process discussion. And I think we've heard loud and clear that council has an appetite for some dedicated funding So we'll couple that with what might come via revenue stream plus any additional support from the general fund. So absolutely, we'll have a conversation on that in the coming weeks.
And I have literally meant for weeks, shame on me, procrastinator, to craft an email to specifically thank folks for the efforts organizing the tree giveaways that were referenced earlier. Clearly didn't send that email, so let me seize this opportunity publicly in this session to specifically thank that effort. I know it was a big hit for those who participated in it. It complements nicely what we're trying to do there. So thanks, y'all.
Thank you. Those are our Parks and Rec and Communications team. I know Shannon out of this office had a big role in all of that, so I know they all appreciate that. Okay. Anything else on this? Not, we'll move to the next priority area. Okay, public safety. We'll get a chance to hear from our chiefs after we get through the security alert. Okay. Chief Thompson.
Yes, sir. Thank you, Mr. McDonough. Mayor and council, it's good to be with you today and go over the department's year that we've passed and some of the stuff we're going to do in the future. As you know, we had a busy year, but it was a good year. Next slide, Mike. We are currently closing out our 5-year strategic plan. We did accomplish 98% of our goals. The couple percent we did not accomplish really had to do with facilities and some equipment. So we've really accomplished a lot of those 5-year goals. They included hiring and retention, de-escalation and bias awareness training, body-worn camera implementation, the license plate readers, and improvement in community policing. We are currently working on develop our next 5-year plan, strategic plan, and that's going to include the national dialogue regarding policing, accountability and transparency. We're taking not only what we learned from our Citizens Advisory panel, but also I'm involved in the REAM committee. We are real deep in the law enforcement there. We're going to take all the things we've learned from our own internal committee that the council and mayor put together, and what we learned from REAM and other areas, and try to take the best practices and improve our customer service and our community relations. Continue to improve body-worn camera system and the license plate readers, and you'll hear more about that as we go on. And Project Safe Neighborhood, and I'll talk about that as we move forward also. During the past year, you'll see our response times have decreased. If you look at this chart, you see we have emergency, immediate, and routine response times that we watch. Emergency, that's self-explanatory. That is an emergency. Immediate response is something that is happening right now. It's in progress. There is still a threat to someone, say a suspect on scene. And then the routine response is something that's already occurred. There is no chance of harm to the person calling. That would be probably like something happened overnight. You wake up, find your car broken into, or you're reporting crime that's already happened. But as you see, we've had very good, we've done very well in reducing the response times in all categories, and something we continue to watch and continue to try to improve on.
That's always a goal of the department over many, many years and everything. But so what do you attribute this these favorable numbers to?
Yes, sir. So what we did is we broke it down to look at, we start, Mr. Mayor, from the time the call comes to the police department now. And so what you're seeing is not just the amount of time it takes for the officer to get dispatched and go to the call. As you look across this, you will see that we have broken this down from the time the call comes in until the time the officer gets there. And what that's helped us do is concentrate on areas that we can pick up a few seconds, you know, and improve on the time. Is it answering the call when it rings? So we are within the 90th percentile of that. We get the calls on the first couple rings. The dispatchers do a great job, and then they handle it better. We're getting better at handling our calls and getting the information out to the officers so they can be en route to the call. So instead of just looking at the officers responding to the call, we've broken it down further and are taking a deeper dive into each part of that call.
Interesting. Yeah.
That's great work.
Thank you. All right, next slide. False alarm reduction, as you all know, we have the ordinance for that is the revision is in process. Last year, our false alarms were reduced by almost 50%. A lot of that was, as you know, the businesses being closed, people staying at home and not being away from home, so their alarms not going off. They were there during the day. So we saw a huge reduction in the number of false alarms. I will say that of the alarms we do answer, 97 to 99% of those do continue to be false alarms.
Have you seen an impact from the ordinance? The false alarm ordinance that we passed, what, 3 months ago, 4 months ago? Is that in place?
I think it's in
No,
progress.
It's something that's in the works.
We
I
haven't.
think
Okay, we haven't put it in place yet. Okay.
Yes, sir. We're still working on that, fine tuning our meetings with the alarm companies and with the city manager and staff. We're still working on that to get it right for you.
A previous slide, how do you explain a 20% drop in, or 20% increase in emergency calls and 50% drop in immediate calls? Is that COVID related? We went from 4,000 to 5,100 in emergency calls.
It could be. I am not sure why why that increased so much, but it could be. It could be sickness or something like that. We do run obviously more emergency calls. Something I'm gonna mention, but I'll go ahead and say it here. We put the defibrillators in all of our response cars now because our response times are very good. We're able to get there before fire department and EMS and help sustain life. So having those in the car, we're able to get there and hook people up and use them to sustain life until we can get the true medical professionals there. So that could be, we are responding to more emergency calls.
Okay, great. Thank you.
Yes, sir. One good thing was shoplifting was down 16%. Sure, that's COVID related. The change in hours of a lot of the stores, the mall being closed, some of those periods of times, different things like that, all COVID related. Theft from motor vehicles was up by 25%. I've got the next slide. We'll look at that a little bit more. Auto theft increased by 13%. Collisions reduced by 27%. And so along with that, our citations went down also. Warnings increased by 13%. We understand everybody was having a hard time. We were trying to make the same impact in slowing down traffic, having people pay attention, do our public safety work by issuing warnings and communicating with drivers. And hopefully we were having the same impact doing that instead of having to issue the citations. And then as you see, we added the AEDs to our patrol vehicles. They've already been used several times and all the officers have been trained on them. The whole department is trained on them. This is probably an important time to bring up. There's an article that came out today about the Criminal Justice Academy does not train officers in first aid. But I do want all of you to know that we here at the department do train all of our officers in not only stop the bleed and basic first aid, but also trauma care and CPR and the use of the AED. So our officers here in the city of Greenville are trained in all that and have that equipment. They have trauma care equipment and the AEDs and CPR masks, things like that. So we're on top of that. So if you see that article, just know that in the city of Greenville, we do take care of all that and our officers are trained. This is just a map, just to show you, this is a heat map showing the auto breakings. As you'll see, the auto break-ins happen everywhere. And this was a crime that was up last year. The good takeaway from this that I think is worth mentioning is we always have a huge problem with cars being left unlocked. And that is still a problem, but we've decreased the amount of cars being broken into that were unlocked from, we were averaging around a 74, 76% unlocked cars. To this year, they were down to 60% unlocked cars. We have videos from neighborhoods when we go and knock on doors trying to get cameras footage and see who our suspects are, of people going up and shaking the door handles. And if they're locked, they move on to the next one. And we've seen so many videos of that. So that's been a push of ours. Beth and her team in communications has helped us push out the word, and we do the lock it, take it, hide it campaign. And they've really helped push that out. And we've done videos with detectives on them, telling people the importance of that. And so we think that has helped reduce the number of cars from being broken into by people locking their cars. And we will continue those efforts on that.
Hey,
Chief, this is a county problem too, I suppose.
Yes, sir, it is. Auto breakings it's a crime of opportunity most of the time. They shake on the handle. If it's open, they go in it, and whatever they can take, they take, and then they move on. Biggest part of these auto breakings are commercial areas where they can hit a lot of cars, and your apartment complexes.
and Chief, is it a fair statement, because this is what's been said in neighborhood association meetings, that those certainly the ones when they're going into an unlocked car, they're frequently looking for guns or drugs.
Yes.
And so, whereas it's a violation of the individual, owner of the property. As soon as those gets loose on the street, it's a violation of our entire community. So I see this as a very serious matter, and something to really do what we can to help inform, particularly on leaving cars unlocked, because every time it happens, it's another loose gun or another, a combination of the two.
It seems so amazing to have a gun in your car and yet your car is locked. It seems inconceivable, but it does seem to happen. But Howard, take us through a little bit of the real life of the experience of the motivation, like Dorothy touched on, and also the success rate, however you measure it, really, of people arrested for this crime.
So if they break in the car that is not locked, what they're going to take, they grab and take with them. Let's say a computer bag, an iPad, a gun. What they're touching, they take with them. They leave very little for us to fingerprint, to DNA. We DNA cars now. We swab and go for DNA, because if it's in the system, we'll get a hit. And some are solved that way. And some, we just had one just the other day. We had them in the system from a previous, it was actually a burglary, not auto breaking, but then the person got arrested and they were checked. Their DNA was checked once they entered prison. So we got hits. And so they're back there signing warrants on them right now, 10 or 12 for stuff they've done here in the city. So, we do go ahead and fingerprint the cars. We do DNA the cars, but we have very little luck in the cars that are unlocked, because they don't, the things that they're touching, they're taking with them. They look in, they see that iPad, they open the door, grab it, they're gone, and leave us very, very little traces.
In my experience, most auto breakers are caught because they've done a number of vehicles.
Yes, sir.
And they get seen by somebody in the area, and then they're tracked down, and invariably they're found with something that was stolen on their person.
Yes, sir. You're exactly right.
If somebody is smart or disciplined enough to only hit one car and move, like Chief said, it's almost impossible to find it. But but that's in my experience what I've seen.
Every once in a while we'll get lucky. We will, just like he just said, we'll stop somebody and be able to charge them for an auto breaking. We'll do a search warrant on their apartment. And I just say apartment because they had one of these the other day. And when they go to the apartment, they find items that were stolen out of other cars, and we link them to other cars. So an auto breaker usually doesn't just break in one car. They're hitting 15, 20, cars. And so when we do catch them, they do usually get a lot more charges on them than just one.
Absolutely.
If you were downtown during any of our events we had downtown, you saw our bike mounted group. So we have doubled that thanks to y'all. It was some funding that you approved for us to use to do that. These are very effective ways of handling large crowds. They work together very well. They're good teams. They look good. They're sharp. People respond to them well. And so we did double that team size. You'll see that picture you're looking at. That's both teams together when they were training and out at the convention center. But that's really going to help us control our crowds. They're our bicycle crowd management team. So you will see them out and about as events go on, and we can use one team, two teams, part of a team. We can use them to suit our needs. To our Citizen Advisory Committee on Public Safety, just to recap that, we held 24 meetings from July 24th through October 21st. It involved a lot of city staff, and I want to, even though the focus was the police, I really want to thank all the city staff that helped me with that. Camilla and Lee Paletti, the city attorney's office, you know, everybody, Athena Miller and the HR group, everybody pitched in and gave some great presentations, shared a lot of information, and we were able to get really good feedback that was shared with y'all when they closed it out October 26th. As you know, the focus was on use of force and K9, body-worn cameras, recruiting, hiring, and training, and the Public Safety Citizens Review Board. We have since adopted policies and have our new policies in place. We have also, with the help of communications, city communications, they have created a dashboard. We will be sharing all this information on our website trying to be transparent, in an effort to be transparent and share everything. That will show our use of force for the last 5 years, calls for service for the past 5 years, all of our policies. It will just give anybody that goes online a quick access to all that information, and they can review it themselves, you know, in the luxury of their own time. So that was part of that came about. Also, the holster safety switches was a recommendation that came through for the body-worn cameras. You will be getting that before you at your next council meeting. We have tested several switches and decided on the one we're going to use that works the best with our equipment. And we will be purchasing those with your approval. And what that will do is, as an officer draws their weapon in a high risk and high stress situation, the camera will come on automatically. And not just the officer that draws their weapon, but any officer within 25 feet of the officer drawing their weapon, it will also activate their cameras. So it's a very important thing that we're adding. It will certainly, I think, make everyone safer and improve our body-worn camera program. Our ALPR, we wrapped up our initial study with that. As you see here, these are our totals for 2020. We got 95 arrests and 207 charges, 77 recovered stolen vehicles. And as you see, an average of 2,000 is $154,000. We think some of the vehicles were worth more than that, but at a minimum, we recovered that much property. And then you see the tags we recovered, the firearms we recovered, and the warrants we served. So that's been a great program, a real asset. Just the other day, when the county had a child that was kidnapped, we entered in the tag of the suspect vehicle and got a hit, and we were able to stop that vehicle and get that child back home. That's one of our success stories that we just had last week. So it continues to be a great tool for us to use here in the city. Our TRV, we're excited to get this. It is ordered. We expect it in the next, we think it should be here by next month in March. April at the latest is what we were told. This will create a lot of positive police contacts. This vehicle will be used to help someone change a tire, help somebody that runs out of gas. It will be on our city streets. It'll operate much like the vehicles you see on the interstates through DMV, except it'll be helping right here on our surface streets in the city, and should really be a good tool, and the public, I think, will like it, and like I said, create a lot of positive contacts.
Chief, I'd sure like to see a Greenville G on there somewhere.
Well, I'm sure I can work that out for you.
I think that would be good, due to the nature of this particular project.
Yes, sir. Yes,
I
sir.
was gonna say, a year ago when we saw this, I think there were flames going down the side of it. As if you've done a slide, this one is kind of vanilla, don't you think?
Yeah, I think black. You need to be badass black.
Yeah, well, you know, I've got that black truck, and it is hard to keep clean. I think this vehicle worked great for us.
It'll look good at Brazington's driveway.
As you know, we've had a big focus on recruiting, especially minority recruiting. I want to thank the city manager and HR staff for helping us on, we had a lateral program that we put into effect to get some laterals. And the reason this is important is we get these laterals, and this was a group they had to have 5 years or more to apply during that time. And we hired 6 people that had 5 years or more experience. So they come in here, they're very easy to fit in. We have very little training time in them. And it really helps improve our customer service, because usually what it takes is someone a year, when we hire them, a year to get them on the road by themselves. Whereas these laterals, we're able to get them on in just, a couple months really at the most. So that was a very important program. It worked well. We hired 6. Also, you see our current race gender chart there. I will tell you that 6 of our recent hires, because we're focused on minority recruiting, 6 of our recent hires, we have hired a Black female, 3 Black males, a Hispanic male, and an Asian male. And so we are making strides in that, and but continue to push that and try to recruit our minorities. One of those, by the way, the Black male, he grew up here in the city of Greenville, and he's an awesome guy. And I can't wait to team up with him and get out in the community and see. I told him the other day, I said, I need a bunch more of you, people right here from the city. And so he's going to help me do that. His name's Lonzo Sales, and he is just a good kid. And but we're glad to have him.
Very good.
Sandy.
So in developing our strategic plans, our focus obviously is to align with your priorities of city council and the community, crime reduction measures, recruiting and retention, community partnerships, and policing. I will say this, we've started on that already. We have, to help in communication with our public and improve customer service, I've asked all the lieutenants to meet with their zones representatives, their main people in their communities, the neighborhood association presidents, things like that. We had our first meeting last night with Zone 1, and over the next 2 weeks, the other 3 zones have their meetings. So we will be meeting with them, and that lets them know who's in charge of their zone, who their contact is, these lieutenants that manage the zones, and hopefully we'll improve communication with them and relieve y'all of some of the complaints you get, because we want them to be able to contact somebody direct with the police department, and so we can help them out. And having that lieutenant over the zone, he will follow up then, know what's going on in the zone, follow up and make sure the problem's getting handled. Also traffic, obviously, technology needs, and training and equipment. Those are all things we're going to focus on in our next 5-year strategic plan. These are some other things we continue to work on. Our online incident reporting. So this would be something where you've had an incident already occurred. You can be sitting at your own business or at your home, and you have there's no car to be processed. Nobody else is on scene that's going to harm you. You can go online and report this incident yourself without having an officer come out or coming to the police department and filing the report. We think it's a good thing. We've got some good feedback from people in the community that they would think they would like that that way they could submit the report whenever they want to. Recruiting, we're going to.
Chief, how common? That seems like, that's a great idea. To be able to go online and report any number of things. Like, I called you a few weeks ago about a suspicious person in the park, and I can send you a text because I know you're on the mayor, you're the police chief. But what a great way to do it. That'd been ridiculous for me to get online, make a telephone call and report all the details of this suspicious person was walking around the park. But how common is this in other departments now to have availability reporting crime?
A lot of agencies are doing this. The main things they're used for, what we've got up here, is shoplifting and theft. So a store where someone comes in, steals something, and leaves, and we have no idea who the person is, they've left the area, they can go on, they can even upload their store video of the person, so that we can put it out and see if the officers recognize the people. Because a lot of our people that commit crimes, we know who they are. One of the officers will recognize them. Also, you at home, let's say you left your car unlocked, they stole your golf clubs. You wake up and they're stolen. Well, you might not have time to wait on us to come out and do the report or meet us. You could go online when you get to work or when you come home that night and report that crime. Just it's going to be easier for you. It's a self-guided report. And then a detective will follow up. We will still follow up like we would a normal report if an officer took it, but that'll let you send in all the information, at your leisure.
That seems like a great thing for Beth Brotherton to really get her hands around and to publicize on the neighborhood level and all around. I think that's just a great idea.
Yeah, we've about got it. We're just fine tuning it, and we'll get it up and running. And yeah, I'm sure City Communications will help us out with that. I think it's a positive thing too.
Kind of like Greenville Cares for the police department, but same idea.
That's right.
But definitely more.
Recruiting build upon our accomplishments of last year. One thing I'll mention to you, because you will all be getting an invite, city manager knows about this project we've been working on with the Army. It's the Army Pays program. And what it does is help servicemen coming out of the Army. It helps connect them with businesses and agencies and helps them get a job after the Army. And so this is going to be a big thing. They're very proud to have a police department online with them, and they want to come. We're going to do something at the convention center the end of March. We're setting that up now. And so we would love to have you, Mr. Mayor, and council members come and support that. The Army will send some people down, and we'll be there to formally announce this and put this out. As you know, the Army is very diverse too. We can get some of our diversity from them. And so they're very excited to partner with the Greenville Police Department on that. And it's going to be a good program.
Warrior Solution will be more than happy to help as well.
And they are helping us. Yes, ma'am. General Maston Roberson, their whole Charlie Hall, Major Hall, they're all helping us with that. And so they will be coming too as part of that program. They love to be, they're good partners with the police department. Project Safe Neighborhood. This is something we've started. In fact, our group is meeting every other week now on Fridays. This combines local, our city resources, county resources. We've got the sheriff's office on with us now, state resources, which is our state probation and parole and SLED, and federal resources. We've got our U.S. Attorney's Office involved, all of our federal task force. And the focus of Project Safe Neighborhoods is violent crimes, is identifying the people that are committing violent crimes and reducing violent crimes in our city. And so we're already got everybody at the table, and we're working on this. And so it's going to be a really big thing. We are still working with feds and ATF to see about getting us a NIBIN machine, which is a machine that tests firearms. It tests the rounds that are shot. If we find rounds on the street that have been used or find a gun, they can actually fire it at a lab, put these into the system. And it works much like the fingerprint system. Once that round coming out of a gun, it has almost like a fingerprint, a certain marks on the bullets. And we're able to then link crimes together or link a gun if we take it off of a person, if it was used in a crime. So that is a machine we're working on, and the U.S. Attorney's Office has applied for a grant. That runs about $180,000, and they think that we stand a good chance to get that, and that will help us. That will be another great tool in helping us with violent crime. Enhance transparency and implement recommendations. That's stuff that we have already been doing. What I've been telling you about our general orders getting updated, especially our use of force. This is the things we're going to put online on that dashboard to share with the community, part of our transparency. And the holster switches that I mentioned to you earlier, when the sidearm is pulled, will activate the body-worn cameras, which is going to be a great addition and help capture needed footage in a high-stress situation. And Mr. Manager, that is all I have, unless there's questions or anything else I can address.
I just want to say we just kind of moved right along, but let's it's kind of like elephant in the room. Summer of 2020, what a magnificent job the Greenville Police Department did, and our many partners, neighborhood leaders, and everyone who made Greenville a different kind of story than everybody everywhere else. And your statistics bore that out. So we can't thank you enough on that. Your leadership was just superb. The whole community thanks you and your officers for of that most unusual summer. I do think as we were living it, though, there were lots of things that happened or didn't happen, and there were rumors and all that. And I mentioned to this before. At some point, I just would like more of a sort of reflection on what did we learn and what actually happened. Just to be specific, for example, there was a night that supposedly people were ransacking a convenience store on Church Street. I don't think that actually happened, but I sure heard about it at the time. It was seemed to be happening, but it didn't seem to happen. But what did we learn, and what worked, what didn't work? And I know you've done a lot of reflection yourself, and love to see you share that.
Yes, sir. Well, I appreciate that. Yeah, we're lucky. We have a really good team here, a young team, but everybody works hard. The convenience store, it did actually happen. A group of people, as they marched, ran in there. We actually have the video of that. A number of them ran in a crowd, grabbing whatever they wanted and ran out. I guess the reason that not a big scene was made about it is one of the group came in after they saw everybody leaving and didn't want anybody to get in trouble. They were actually part of this group in this march, and so they gave the clerk $50 and said, hopefully this will cover whatever they took. So, but watching the video and seeing everybody rush in, grab a drink, grab a chip, crackers, whatever they did, and leave, it was something that could have been a bad scene, but they were in and out they were out as quick as they were in.
It would have been in most cities, that would have been even unmentioned event, would have been so minor in view of everything else happening. But here in Greenville, that seemed to be, that got a little bit more attention. But everything about how it was handled, the tactics, and it's just a remarkable story.
Yeah, I think showing the restraint that we showed, I think it really paid off, and I think it made a huge difference.
Hey,
absolutely, concerned. Great job.
Yeah, Chief, thanks. I'll echo Ken and Mayor's statement. I often think of our law enforcement first responders as you all see a world that not so many of us don't see, and many of us, including me, probably don't want to see. And I just can't thank you and the entire police force for all that you do for this community, because it makes a difference. And I've heard you say this, and I believe it to be true, that without safety, nothing else works. So thank you for all your hard work.
Yes, sir. Thank you.
Okay, Michael, you can switch to the next slide. Good afternoon, Mr. Manager, Mayor, members of council. Before we get moving along here, just to piggyback on the end of the conversation there, Howie's folks showed tremendous amount of restraint, very professional. Having been in environments like that in my previous life, the true professionalism of his folks, and I'd like to add his ability to build a strong relationship with the sheriff and his office is why that event was handled the way it was. And hats off to you, Howard. Great job. We're going to talk about our focus areas here real quick. We just have a couple of slides. First and foremost, we strive to ensure that our emergency services meet or exceed recognized national standards, and we do that whenever possible. There are obviously some fiscal constraints that prohibit us from doing certain things, but we certainly try our best and work towards meeting those goals and objectives. We're also in process and have been in process of maintaining upgrading our facilities to bring them into today's standards. And thanks to council support, our equipment is state of the art and is in great shape. And again, that's thanks to your support. And we look every day for efforts to improve our service delivery and be prepared for whatever the fire service needs are going to be into the future. I've been doing this for 42 years now, and I can tell you what we did 42 years ago in comparison to what we do today and the things we're involved in, and just how technical the jobs become over that time period. There are many books written on it. Certainly, I'm not one to put words down like that, but The fire service certainly changed and will continue to change as the service demands of the public require. Slide, please. Again, meet or exceed our national standards in industry best practices. One of our checks and balances that we have in place successfully, we've been accredited by the Commission on Fire Accreditation International. That, along with our ISO Class 1, we're one of only 70 departments in North America that has achieved both those high standards or benchmarks. And the accreditation and compliance report that we have to do annually, and then every 5th year we get a formal evaluation and site visit by a team of our peers, and those members are fire chiefs and members of ICMA, fire engineers. They'll be visiting us again in 2023 for a complete assessment. But we use this as our benchmark to look for ways to improve, and more importantly, to use it as a means to verify that what we say we're doing. It's not just we think we're doing it and we're falling short. Through data collection and analysis, we're able to actually, evaluate how we provide our level of service and that we're meeting the benchmarks that were set in place by ourselves in the community. Another accomplishment this year was we did complete our assessment, which with the airport, and that was one of our strategic recommendations through the assessment process, that we have a more comprehensive plan to addressing issues at the airport, including response and training. Now, the training component we have not been able to fulfill as of yet, and that's been due to COVID. The State Fire Academy's not been having any in attendance classes where that would require us to send a handful of folks to get training on how to deal with aircraft incidents. Our automatic aid and closest unit response program is, we're hoping within the next 3 months, we should be working with Parker District shoulder to shoulder, where if there is an incident, if one of their vehicles is the closest incident or one of ours in their jurisdiction, we'll be responding across borders in that manner. Folks, I think I think you all agree that when someone's in a time of need, they really don't care what the sticker on the side of the door says. And more importantly for us, it provides a level of safety for our workforce when we can amass a proper amount of resources within a shorter period of time. So we're looking forward to that. We still have to work with other partners that surround us. There's some reluctancy in a couple of cases, but I think over time we can break the ice there. Battalion Chief Crosby, who's our medical control officer, has been very diligent at ordering and assuring that we have all the proper PPE COVID related, including the CARES Act PPE that was distributed and still is being distributed to the business community. And he's also worked closely with HR as far as our policies go, our internal policies on how to deal with COVID in the workforce. It's been a moving target, I can tell you, and I know you all know this. The guidance changes weekly, sometimes even daily. So he and Claudia have been working very close together in trying to make sure that our workforce is kept healthy and safe. We were accepted into NFPA's Community Risk Assessment Program, 250 fire departments nationwide. And the idea behind it is the NFPA is looking to gather data and find out what are our issues nationally, and hopes to develop a community risk assessment program that can be used and addresses all the concerns, especially the ones that you see reoccurring. So we're excited about that. It's really quite an honor to work with the National Fire Protection Association in that way. And it's due in part because we've had a community, we were one of the first departments in the state of South Carolina to stand up a risk assessment program, a risk reduction program, I'm sorry. And because of that, they're looking to gather the data that we've compiled from a success and maybe a gap standpoint. So as far as our priorities go, we'll continue to strive towards improving response times. That's a given. Revise our airport memorandum and understanding and response plans. Implement again the AVL automatic aid response with our neighboring jurisdictions. And again, Francis Crosby, Lieutenant Chief Crosby, is working closely with DHEC in Columbia as far as the regulatory component in regards to emergency medical services. And that's pretty significant for us. We're now a basic life support agency. So the only difference between us and a majority of the ambulances that you see on the road is we don't have a litter in the back of our fire engines, obviously. But some of the equipment they're requiring us to carry really isn't conducive to first response or fire service response. So he's representing the state's fire service on that committee, and he also represents Greenville County Fire Chiefs Association in helping regulate and help the state decide what is it that we really need, what kind of equipment do we need, and more importantly, our protocol, what kind of drugs can we administer, what can't we do. So he's quite busy from that standpoint. Next slide, please. Again, maintain adequate fire stations, facility, and equipment while planning for future needs. We know we've got a service gap, and John, we've been working closely with the manager's office and budget and GIS, looking at, is there a way we can rearrange our fire stations potentially to deliver a higher level of service and maybe cut the legacy down, and that being the number of stations. It's not necessarily the fire stations, y'all know, it's not the stations that respond to incidents, it's the apparatus and the manpower inside those stations. So that's one of the things we're looking at in conjunction with the airport. We know what kind of economic impact the airport has on not just city, but our region in a sense. And we're partnering with GSP in hopes of sharing equipment, and that equipment sharing process could help us enhance the airport's ability moving forward should they decide to take that next step from a light cargo standpoint. There's certain requirements that they'll have to have, and so we're working with them, and that's a potential site for us to put a facility if we so choose, and the data shows that it's advantageous for us to long-term potentially reposition some of our resources. So some of the things we did complete this year, obviously Augusta Road, again, thank you for your support years back when you dedicated the 4 mills to the fire stations to address the builds and the rehab of our aging buildings. We also were able to complete, we have never really had a classroom out at our training facility. For those of you that went through our academy or were out there prior to the upgrade that just got completed, we would hold our training in a 30 by 30 pole barn is essentially what we had. So we're able to add on to that and make a formal training classroom environment so that, it's more conducive to learning and much more sterile now. Along with, believe it or not, we've got an indoor restroom facility out there now. So thank you for that. We were able to put a new roof on stations 2 and 5. Now, both those stations had some water intrusion over the years. So prior to the roof getting repaired, we had to take paint off the walls, dry out the cinder block, and then repaint them, put a new roof on, and we were able to also put some new carpet in the bunk rooms out there. So it's not an upgrade, it's more of a maintain and preserve what we have type of repairs, but it, like everything right now, when it comes to building, it wasn't as inexpensive as we would have expected it to be a handful of years back. So again, COVID logistics for all of the city. We are recognized now by DHEC as a EMT basic life support agency. We have replaced our hazmat apparatus, and we do have being built right now. We have a new mobile command post that'll be used, available for all the city, whether Howie needs it in an event or Public Works for storms, whatever the case may be. We'll have a state-of-the-art mobile communication center that will also serve as a backup for our primary communicators should something happen at the LEC and they're not able to get to the secondary site in time. So it's going to bring capabilities to us that we currently don't have, and it's going to really be a state-of-the-art piece of equipment available for all the cities. So that's in build stage. And then long range, we're going to continue working with the manager and trying to find the potential for some fire station locations. Again, partnering with our bordering fire departments that are willing to partner with us. And as mentioned, I think it was mentioned earlier or yesterday when Mike was talking about our capital liability, our burn tower is, we can't use it to burn it anymore. It's just structurally not stable. We've had it assessed. That was through capital last year. We got money set aside to have engineers come in and do an assessment of the facility. And then another item that's a priority for us that we have to be thinking about moving forward. And you know, we've been with the manager and budget. They're aware. We're going to have to replace our SCBAs, our breathing apparatus, moving forward here in the next 2 to 3 years. And as it stands right now, that's probably a $750,000 project. So, and then continuing with our capital vehicle replacement program. Next slide, please. And then on the right, you can see the addition to what was the old pole barn. So again, it's a big upgrade for us. We're really excited. And I'd like to thank council for allowing us to do that. Next, please. And then looking to the future, looking through our training program, we have a very comprehensive training program, but we have identified a gap here in the last year and a half, 2 years, and I'll talk about that in a little bit. We have been able to get 3 of our paramedics certified as instructors, which will make it easier for us to deliver our continuing education for our EMTs. And then we had 2 in-state and one in-state, actually 2 in-state and 2 out-of-state special ops deployments in the last year. We had Pumpkin Town and Seneca. We had the tornadoes touch down there, and we sent resources out for 2 days for the search and rescue operations. And then we were in Alabama twice through Mercy Management compact agreements with Alabama. And those, the 3 of them are reimbursable. So eventually we'll get reimbursed for our manpower and any supplies that we use there. So, and then one of another initiative that Chief Crosby is involved in is the COVID testing sites for first responders. When we started that, We started out here at the TD Center. It was drive-through. It was open every day for 8 hours. We were running 30 to 40, and that encompassed all of upstate. So the 7 counties, any first responder, if they felt ill, they were symptomatic, they could come and get tested here. And this was prior to any of the other major sites standing up. As things kind of settled down and the convention center started to look for business and started accepting business, they had to find another place. And we're actually out on Highway 25 at an old Gant fire station, and they're operating now only 3 days a week. And it's by appointment, but here post holidays, they were seeing 130, 140 people a day. And now it's down to 20, 25 a day, which is pretty remarkable. So I think that tells us a good story when we look at where we're at as a region with COVID. So, and then the Blue Card Simulator, what we talk about when we want to work with our neighbors, we all have to be on the same page. Operationally, we have to be using the same language. We have to use the same not necessarily technology, but our operations, we have to be tactically thinking along the same lines. And that's what the Blue Card Simulation Center does. It's an incident command program that we adopted, again, through a council initiative, through capital or service improvement a handful of years back. And we're now a regional training center for that particular program. So we have been reaching out into the county and training the bordering fire departments that are willing to work with us successfully. So we just had some of y'all might have seen the training exercise that we did in Parker District up on Old Bunkum and 276 or 25 there, 276. And it really came to light there just how beneficial that program is, that being the Blue Card, and the fact that all but 2 or 3 of the departments that were participating had been through it at one level or another. And it was really refreshing. So our priorities going into next year is to establish a comprehensive juvenile fire setter intervention program. We've got a couple of our younger folks that have been to the National Fire Academy and been through this program as counselors. And what it basically is, when you have someone that's showing a unnatural attraction to fire in their juvenile age, instead of taking a punitive action or getting them involved in the judicial system, there's alternatives. There's counseling options, family counseling options, and the program itself, when it's done, will actually include professional psychologists to help assess whether there's a danger there or not. So we're looking forward to getting that in play. Like a lot of things, it's one of those things you'd be very surprised how many folks could benefit from this program. Our mentoring program we have in place right now for our EMTs. We'll be establishing one for our line level management or officers, just to fill the voids. There's always those questions when you get promoted, and it's kind of similar to what Howie's folks do when they have their officers riding with another officer for a period of time. So there's someone there to help them, do things the way that Greenville Police does their program. It's similar in that concept for us. So. And then the training, I spoke of that. We are current. We're beyond current, especially when we look to the region. We're one of the leaders in the state, if not when it comes to our operations. But we haven't in the last couple of years, because all the data gathering and assessing and evaluating. One of the things we've kind of taken our training, our eye off that, and just kind of let it move along without really taking a look to see where do we have operational gaps? Are we still current with some of the policies, operational policies that we have in place? So we're going to be taking a look at that this year. And then again, outreach.
Chief,
Yes, sir.
thank you for that. We're gonna have to press on here. I think it'd be a good time to take a 5-minute break, and then we're gonna roll right into affordable housing. We've still got a good bit of ground to cover this afternoon. So thank you so much for that.
Hey, John McDonough.
Yes.
McDonough, you mind me just giving
Please.
Chief a little kudos here for a
Absolutely.
moment? And I'm sorry I'm going to belabor that, but I wanted to just, Chief, you touched on something that is really important. That is, you're not only saving lives, but you're comforting people. And I just want to say thank you to you and your team. And just some of y'all know I had a real big health scare with my 3-year-old. Ended up at Parkside with an oxygen level about 80, dangerous. Poor kid was just gasping for air. We got him stable at Parkside, and it was so serious, say to get him to the hospital. Anyway, EMS showed up and the fire department showed up. I'm trying to do this without getting choked up, but when your guys showed up, they not only comforted my kid, but mom and dad too. And so just, I had more to say, but good gracious, I'm getting choked up over here. Anyway, so but my point is, you guys brought this little helmet, and as he was gasping for air, he was more interested in this helmet than he was struggling. So thank you. You sure do comfort people. Appreciate
Thanks for the kind words, Councilman. Thank you.
And Chief, I'd like to commend you. You touched on this real quick, but it's important because I want council to be aware of it, as well as Merle. I think he is, but you mentioned working with the downtown airport folks to see any partnerships there. What we learned on a tour earlier in the year was that fire station of some level at the airport allows the downtown airport to serve, to provide a lot more service. In other words, we cannot extend that runway, but we can expand it for economic development based on having a fire station there. So I'm glad to hear y'all are in discussions on that. It may or may not work out, but it sure would be a win in terms of using our downtown airport to help us reach our economic development goals, particularly since it's in the corridor.
Surely. We'll keep pushing forward.
We appreciate what you do too. A lot of people don't realize that when you have seniors who are not mobile and they got to have some help, your fire department is almost like a member of our community because they have responded to a person until they can get her a bed in a place, and we thank y'all for that.
The guys tell me a story, Miss Fleming. Back in the day, especially before the Quick Trip showed up there on the west end, that Station 2 down there kind of was a 7-Eleven because the folks from the neighborhood were in there getting sodas and candy bars and chips and whenever the opportunity presented itself. So it's certainly a part of the community. Much appreciated.
I think, Chief, what we're all trying to say is we just really appreciate you and your whole team for everything you do in our city.
You're here. Make sure I pass that along.
Okay, well, we'll take a 7-minute break. We'll start back at 5 minutes to the hour, and we'll hit affordable housing and then customer focus. Brian, are you there? You ready to go?
Yes, sir.
We can't see you.
Here I come.
All right. Okay. I think we've got everybody back. We're going to go ahead and move right into affordable housing, and we're going to go to our number one partner, Brian Brown, the Greenville Housing Fund. And Rebecca Edwards is also going to help with this presentation. So Brian, I'll turn it over to you and Rebecca. Thank you.
Thank you. And thank you all for having me. And I know it's Friday afternoon, so I will try to be brief. Michael, if you want to advance the next, thank you. So let me just start by, I'm going to reflect on some accomplishments of the Greenville Housing Fund in the past year, 2020. And you know, this is high level, but might not seem like much, but there's a lot of work on this slide. And as you can all appreciate, when I arrived here, GHF was just starting up, and during this thing called COVID, the fact that we were able to really expand our staff capacity, we added an advocacy and community engagement manager and a capital markets and real estate development manager. And that really helped us support the investments we have made to date in affordable housing and workforce housing. As you can see here, we did 235 units of affordable and workforce housing, which totals 539 units to date for the Greenville Housing Fund. So I'm very proud of the work we are doing in this space. Interestingly, as part of COVID and part of the response to COVID and the pandemic, we really came together and collaborated with a lot of our partners in terms of supporting emergency rent, mortgage, and utility assistance in this community. An outgrowth of that work was identifying additional families impacted in some ways by COVID, living in unstable hotel and motel environments. And so we supported the launch of United Housing Connections Home Again program, which combines case management and housing stabilization to transition families, specifically families with children, moving out of a motel or hotel into a safe and stable housing environment. And I'm very, very proud of that program and getting that up and running. We also, as part of the COVID response, Greenville Housing Fund, as we were observing tenant assistance, emergency rent assistance, and some of the challenges with that, GHF created the Landlord Assistance Program, which was an innovative approach to helping individual tenants, but we did it by working with large property management firms and landlords, because those groups can really assist tenants in completing the paperwork necessary to document the assistance. And we were able to process more than 200 applicants and distributed almost $350,000 between November and December of 2020. We also distributed another $200,000 through the United Housing Connections, supporting another 80 households with rental assistance. And then finally, as you all know, we completed with the Greenville County Redevelopment Authority our community-wide Greenville Affordable Housing Strategic Plan. We are launching a public-facing dashboard as part of that, and we created and launched the Greenville Affordable Housing Coalition with almost 50 members now to help us implement and execute on this plan. Next slide, Michael. Thank you. And so leading into 2021, we are supporting, and we're sort of we are the quarterback organization for the Greenville Affordable Housing Coalition, which means we are staffing it, and it is a community plan, and we need our community partners to own that plan, and our role is to provide that staff support to execute on that plan. Some of what we will be working on this year, which you'll hear just a little bit more about in a moment, is increasing capital from both public and private sources, because it's one thing to be engaged in real estate development around affordable and workforce housing, but we can't do it without resources. And so we are always working to expand our resource platform so we have the resources necessary to make the investments we need to make in the housing. An example of that is we are launching in 2021 the Greenville Housing Impact Fund, and that'll be a $5 million private equity fund. It will be SEC regulated. We have not publicly launched it yet, but we already have $1.7 million in commitments to that private equity fund, and I'm very grateful for that. And I think it speaks to the recognition our community has around this need. We are also working to create a $20 million loan fund through investments by local banks and a strong community development financial institution, or a CDFI. And part of the reason for that is when banks invest in a CDFI-led fund, they get an automatic safe harbor CRA credit. So the banks benefit by making the investment this way. We have a local bank that has made $1 million commitment, and we need some other banks to help us with this fund. And we're also looking at some CDFI partners, and I am cautiously optimistic that we will launch this year. Additionally, we're looking to expand opportunities for acquisition and preservation. I think, as some of you might know, we've done a project in the city of Greenville where we acquired some units that were naturally occurring affordable housing, and we are making improvements and we are preserving those units as affordable. And of course, we're always pursuing new construction of affordable and workforce housing through joint venture partnerships, through our loan programs, and through other GHF initiatives. We have a goal for the Greenville Housing Fund to be actively involved in 300 units per year, and we are going to work with our coalition partners to be active community-wide with all of our partners to achieve 1,000 units per year, which is what it's going to take if you look at our plan. We are also mindful of the need for affordable and workforce home ownership. And I'm very happy to report that we are actively working on in pursuit of 41 units of affordable and workforce home ownership. And then finally, in terms of priorities for 2021, we want to continue to deepen our relationship and identify leverage opportunities with the Community Development Department in the city of Greenville, and to look for those opportunities with the implementation of Greenville 2040. Next slide, please. And then just to give you a sense of some of the things we are working on, some project specifics, just to give you a little flavor. I think many of you are familiar with these, but the Mosaic at West End is currently, the site plan is being further refined and developed, but it will be approximately 135 or so units of mixed income housing. Importantly, 25% of those units will be affordable and workforce, and that'll be a joint venture with GHF owning 20% of the total development. We are working on the Green Plaza site, joint venture with Homes Urban, which will be 76 units and have a range of affordable workforce and market rate units. Unity Park, very happy about pursuing the affordable senior housing development, which will deliver 148 units using a 4% low-income housing tax credit bond financing, and partnering in a joint venture with Greystone Affordable Development and our local Southern Side nonprofit. And then Washington West, I think many of you have heard about, trying to get that development over the finish line we have recently entered into a joint venture. We're working on finalizing the agreement, but it's going to be a joint venture with Allen Temple on 12 units of affordable and workforce rental with Trey Cole Design Group. And also included in that development will be 6 market rate and 3 workforce home ownership units right there on Washington. And then you all just recently passed legislation transferring some of these Unity Park parcels to us, and we are actively site planning and working with private development partners, including minority business enterprise participation to provide plus or minus 100 units of affordable and workforce housing. Don't know what the final number is because we're still in the planning phase on that, but I will keep you updated. And then we have other developments in the pipeline, as you see here, with a range of financing and different typology, but all will be mixed income with affordable and workforce units. So currently, we are active on 483 total units, totaling just over $80 million. Next slide, please. And then this is from our work program, which is our 3-year startup and document that is helping us implement and execute on our strategic plan. And these are the top 5 goals for our 10-year affordable housing strategy. So you heard me talk about a $20 million loan fund, and we got to start somewhere, but our goal over the 10 years will be to grow that fund so we have the right resources in our toolbox to really sustain and execute on our plan. We obviously want to reduce the percentage of cost burden households because Greenville was identified in the top 10 markets in the country with the growing percentage of cost burden households. So we got to impact that. We want to always focus on how can we do public-private partnerships in making affordable housing possible. And we talk a lot about affordable and workforce. Our 4th goal is really zeroing in, and this, of course, is the degree of difficulty of this next goal is acute. Because producing units for those at the lowest end of the income spectrum is it's a challenging thing to do, but we know we need to do it because unless we do it, we will not solve our homelessness issue in our community. And in my view, it is solvable. And so we've identified that as a top goal. And then finally, our 5th goal is around race equity and increasing home ownership within the African-American and minority populations of our community. That is an equity issue in terms of wealth building, and we recognize what homeownership means in this country, and we are committed to improving that. And then my last slide, if I remember correctly, is to give you a snapshot of the dashboard that we're developing, which will track our progress on implementing our plan. As you can see here, this is a screenshot, so I can't demonstrate all of the functionality of this dashboard. But as you hover your cursor over some of these, like the housing unit summary, when you hover your cursor over the different parts of the pie, a box will pop up and tell you what that all means. And so it's going to be a very active and engaging dashboard, which will in a very quick way provide a lot of information. It's a work in progress. We just met with the consultants yesterday and made a few tweaks to this particular page. There'll be a whole another page that goes with this dashboard that I will share with you when we have it developed. But our goal is to have our dashboard complete and ready to share. It'll be on our website. It'll be public facing, and we want to have this done by the end of the month. So it is a fast work in progress, and it'll have a lot of good information and it'll allow the community to know how we are doing. The map on there, that feature will be really interesting because we're working with Furman University on doing an active map which will show the location of affordable and workforce housing throughout our city and our county. And there's a lot of work underway on that as well. So we just put that map that you're seeing here as a placeholder for a much more active map. And I think that's all I have. So I don't know if you want to go on to Rebecca or if there are questions for me.
I have some questions for you. Of course I do. Of course I do. Well, first of all, I want to say you guys are doing a fantastic job, and you know, I've tried to publicly give you credit as much as I can, and because you absolutely deserve it. You know, getting you to come down here, like I've said a number of times, was a huge get for us, and I appreciate all the things that you guys are doing. Now, with that said, do we know where we're falling the most short as far as percentage AMI? All right, because we hear the projects that come before us, a lot of times I hear 80, 80, 80, 80, 80, but I don't hear a lot of 60, 50, 30. Where?
And I appreciate your question. Yeah, I appreciate your question. I hope the projects we are bringing forward, you should be hearing 60 and 80 because we really try to balance between 60 and 80 whenever we're supporting a project in development. And in some of our projects, we're getting down to 50. I will tell you, getting below 50% AMI is extraordinarily difficult. And to answer your question more specifically, where we have the biggest gap, in my opinion, is attacking the gap at the 30% and below level. And here's why. Because we need investment resources, not only on the capital side to actually physically create the housing unit, but we must have operating support to sustain that housing unit over time, meaning rental assistance. And on these lower AMI units, we're pretty much talking about rental. And I would also say that specifically around those kind of units, I am really passionately working towards supporting the development of permanent supportive housing because we need it in this community, sort of like a Reedy Place, a Church Street Place. We need more of those units because if we have them, we can solve our homelessness problem in this community.
When we're falling short on that 30%, do we know what's happening to the people who are not able to get housing? I mean, are they just becoming homeless? Are they leaving the county, or?
These are the people that you are seeing. Some of them you're seeing moving into hotels, motels. Some of them are doubled up. Some of them are on the street. Some of them are in shelter. Our shelter system in this community is not functioning properly, and it's not the fault of the shelter providers. It's that the people in the shelter do not have a place to exit. And so creating a platform of housing where folks that are in shelter and are getting stabilized, if they had an accessible housing unit to go to, then our shelter system would open up and we'd have a more fluid pipeline of support. And that's what shelters are designed to do. They are not designed to house people for 18 months.
Okay, all right, so let me go back to my first question, just to get a little more information about that.
Sure.
If we were to break this down by, in fact, let me ask this foundational question first. Do we know what our need is for these various AMI percentage groups?
If you're talking about like numbers of units and so on, I think that's outlined in our plan.
Okay, all right. So
if that's what you're asking, we know what the population is by income range, and so we have to attack all of that across the spectrum of income.
Okay, all right. So in those, if we break them down with those particular percentages of AMI. Okay.
Mhm.
And you told me that the area where we're falling most short is 30%, which I absolutely understand. How are we doing on the 50 and 60?
Better. And, you know, and part of the reason for that is because our production and preservation strategies really hit those levels. So naturally occurring affordable housing, you will find many units in the community that are NOAA units, naturally occurring affordable housing, that, I mean, we're acquiring a property right now as we speak, currently rents about 40% AMI. So we have found a property that is currently available in the market that is renting at 40% AMI, and we're buying it. We're going to spend almost $1 million improving it because the 40% that these working people are, you know, their hard-earned money is going towards that rent. They're not living in such nice conditions in this particular property. And in my view, a core part of our mission is finding those kinds of housing communities, acquiring them and bringing them up to a good quality and standard, and then preserving that moving forward over the long term. That is a core part of our mission in my view, and it's a real contribution to the community.
Okay. Other than just money, right? What can we as city council do in order to help you and help the other agencies in Greenville that are hard at work tackling this problem to try to meet the needs of those AMIs?
I think you're doing it in some ways. You're passing, in addition to funding, you are passing legislation. You got the comprehensive plan that you're working on. There are zoning and land use regulations that will help or hurt depending on what happens. You know, there are other policy considerations, and I always appreciate it, like the tree ordinance, for example, when affordability and the impact on affordability is taken into account, and it was, and we're going to continue. You know, we're here to always weigh in on the issues, so we don't have an unintended consequence of hurting our efforts around housing affordability. So there's all kinds of policy issues that you guys address that will either support or, you know, in some ways create pressure on us in terms of delivering on housing affordability. And I always appreciate the work of staff and the openness of staff and council to be thoughtful about how those issues are addressed.
Hey, Brian, isn't a key part of, like, a great example of that, in my view, is the policy on conversion of hotel.
Yes, great example.
That to me is the first step we took towards policy that supports directly that 30%. And to be clear, a 30% AMI, just running those numbers, that is a person working a minimum wage job, 40 hours a week, 50 weeks a year.
Right. Yes.
Now, people who work minimum wage jobs are likely working more than 40 hours a week.
Yes.
But these aren't just people, you know, I mean, these are people that we, you know, we need as part of our.
Absolutely. These are hardworking members of our community. And
just because of our minimum wage, they are, that's what puts us to 30%. But to me, that piece of policy that we passed, I think it was in November, is a key component to addressing the needs, particularly of this income category. Was that?
Excellent. And I just not a question, but a comment. Like I say, you guys doing a great job. I'm really appreciative of the, not of the circumstances themselves, but the circumstances to the extent that they have caused all of the agencies tackling this problem to work closely together. And I would really, you know, like to, even once these circumstances are gone, to see you guys continue to do that, because, you know, like a comment I made, you know, some hours ago, you guys are all tackling the same problem, but you do it in such different ways that I think it's important that you guys coordinate to make sure things don't fall through the crack. But tremendous job. Keep up the great work.
Well, and Ken, let me just say, you will see our coalition enlarge, not shrink post-COVID. We need, for example, we are developing additional relationships with our business community leaders because I see affordable housing as part of our economic development infrastructure. So this community can remain competitive, moving forward. And affordable and workforce housing is economic development infrastructure. And I need business community leaders to help speak out about that, not so much in the city of Greenville, but in other places.
Good deal.
Brian, one thing to commend you on, and this is something Councilmember Dworkin and I spoke about, that to address the needs of our homeless population, those who are experiencing homelessness, not everybody who's experiencing homelessness will ever be in a self-sufficient situation of a rental unit or a home. There are some that need that transitional housing and will always be in transitional housing. And Church Street Place is a great example of addressing that. And the fact that you're latching onto that as part of your long-term goals of assistance, I commend you on that as well.
Thank you. And we have great partners that are, I'm so happy to be partnering with United Housing Connections and the Continuum of Care here in this community. They're doing a great job, and we just want to be as supportive as we can be of them.
Brian, on the, I have to be careful on how I put this. I was concerned when I read in the paper earlier this week about our county and the fear of affordable housing. And I don't know if you saw the article, but basically a comment. Yeah.
Russell, I thought you were going to talk about Dorothy's Big Mac analogy, but this is.
Oh, yeah.
It worked.
No, right. But you're going somewhere else, and I appreciate it.
But the mentality of we support affordable housing, but not in my district, I think is the flavor that came out in the article. Well, how do we, and we're also seeing that with residents. On every resident in every survey says that affordable housing is a good thing. But as now that we're starting to develop some of these projects, we're getting pushback from especially a couple neighborhoods on I love affordable housing, but don't put it next to me. How do we overcome that fear? How do we overcome that stigma?
Well, part of it, I was just talking about this earlier today. We have a lot of education to do. If I can be a little candid, I think we have people who are in our tent, so to speak. So we have people who are in our networks and who are supporting our work. Where I still think we need to provide some education about what some of these tools and resources we are trying to deploy, how they actually help people climb the economic ladder towards self-sufficiency. And to Dorothy's point, and sometimes we're going to need ongoing supports for certain people. If you're elderly and you're on SSI or Social Security, and you're getting $800 a month, and your rent's $400 a month, you can't be spending 50% of your income on your housing, because if you are one event away from becoming homeless. And so we need to understand what some of these tools and resources are and how they work to help provide people dignity in old age, but also how they can help hardworking people climb out of poverty and become self-sufficient. And with respect to some of the larger issues outside the city limits, I would say that we need to provide good information. And the Greenville Housing Fund, I can safely say we tell the truth. We are transparent. Not every project is, individual projects need to succeed or fail on their own merit. And I've been involved personally in more than one project that did not succeed. So, and sometimes we learn from our failures more than we learn from our successes. And Not every location is the best location for a particular project, but I think that I think what we do and how we do it, the best way to demonstrate the effectiveness of what we are about is to pursue really good projects and to prove to people in our community that this is what we're talking about. And you can't even look at these units, like who's living in market rate and who's living in an affordable unit. If you can tell the difference, we're not doing it right. And it's my view that you should not be able to tell the difference. And I think we have to the proof is in the pudding, so to speak. We have to do something. We have to do more of this and be able to point to. There's a beautiful project on Augusta, for example, is a great example. And, I think we need to start taking people on tours and letting them meet some of the residents of some of these properties and what that has meant to their lives, and tell that story and show them what this is. And, I just think that's part of what we have to do.
And, is that at the Augusta Heights you're speaking of?
Yes. Yeah.
And so you're well familiar with the resistance from the neighborhood to that. So if there's a success tell of a neighborhood first being first and then being accepted and then it being a strong success story, that is the one to tell. And if there's a way to tell it, Beth Brotherton's group can. But for marketing your goals, to me, I think that's an excellent story to tell.
And that development is now fully embraced
yes.
by the neighborhood.
Yeah.
That is a great project.
Yeah.
It was first met with resistance.
No, I mean, I wasn't here for it, but I've heard about it. And of course, I've lived through it in other places. So, yeah.
Well, one of the things that we need to work with is developers. Because oftentimes in the community where I have all of this great people who have changed into the neighborhood and they want the neighborhood to be a crown jewel and they don't want certain people to be in the neighborhood, but they were in the neighborhood before these people came. And we need to be very candid and very honest that the people who have gentrified these communities are now acting as if these are the premier communities and they don't want anyone with a low income or elderly in that neighborhood, which does not make sense. So we need to work together to talk to people and explain to them, most cases it's about our property that we have taken, paid $30,000 for, and now we're selling them for $400,000 and $500,000. Yeah, the city has not done that because the laws don't allow us to do that kind of stuff. But because these people have purchased units like that from a neighborhood that has risen from the phoenix, from the ashes, we need to be very clear that they know where they live, and that to just run out everybody in the neighborhood is not being fair, and it's not being a neighbor at all. And I've even had some people in the neighborhood who didn't even want Black developers to build a single family house in that neighborhood that looked just as comparable. But because that person was there, we got some work to do. Because we need to be very clear and open and honest and start individually asking questions. If you've gentrified a neighborhood, then why don't you want the former residents to live in the same neighborhood? That question needs to be answered, and we just need to work more and do more. And I thank you, Brian, for what you're doing, and I thank the city because all of you on council have not wedged back. You're trying to make sure that you make a difference. It's not easy. We cannot do it alone.
That's right.
Everybody else to help. We've got to, just like Brian going from person to person, we've got to do the same thing. Those of us who know people who are professional realtors, bankers and everything, we've got to ask them to please invest. So if you don't invest, who came up with the numbers and said that 90,000, we expecting 90,000 new residents. Well, if you listen to me, you take 90,000 and that's for the county. Well, if you're gonna get 90,000 new residents, we're 6 of the county. That means we're gonna get 15,000. But where the 15,000 people gonna live if we were already at 2,500 short just for the low income? And
Yeah.
for the other. So the only way it's gonna happen is they're gonna have to live together. And that's the only way we would be able to survive is that my neighbor needs me and I need my neighbor.
Mhm.
Thank you, Lillian.
Councilman Clune. Thank you all for your support. If there's no other questions, I think Rebecca can take over. Thank you all.
Thank you. Can everyone hear me? Great. Thank you, Brian. Thank you, Mayor and Council. I know we have a lot to get through, so most of you know I can talk fairly fast, so just stop me if you need to spend more time on some things. But the first 2 slides that I want to share with you all really focuses on sustainability of affordable housing and making sure our residents are staying in homes that are affordable and quality, and we're preventing displacement. And particularly last year, this showed a lot in our COVID-19 impact assistance. So through HUD and our CARES Act allocation, we were able to expend $144,662 year to date on housing assistance. And one thing that I really want to highlight here is that we're coupling this with financial counseling. So we're really setting them up for future success in the event of a rainy day, car breaking down, you know, things like that, and natural things that happen. So some upcoming things with homelessness that I do want to share. Our lovely partner, Continuum of Care, also a partner of Brian, recently presented to our Downtown Merchants small group meeting. And thank you to Terry Eaker and Will Young for coordinating that and allowing that space for them to share. So with some city staff support, they're really looking to do a survey and data collection on homelessness within the downtown area, with the hopes of then setting up a downtown outreach team, which will provide a way for city staff, you all, and our downtown merchants to have a phone number in a non-emergency situation where there is an individual that they have encountered that they are concerned about and would like to get them some sort of resources and get them in touch with a possible case manager. So we're really looking forward to that. And then again, with the COVID-19 impact assistance, we're really looking at expanding on what Brian has done with our other partners, landlord assistance, and looking at other funding streams for housing assistance and what's coming out for the eviction moratorium as well. Next slide, Michael. So again, looking at preservation, our owner-occupied rehabilitation, our major partner is Rebuild Upstate. So in 2020, they completed 7 rehabilitations with an additional 7 right now in our pipeline for approval. I just want to note that since 2018, they have almost doubled what they have been able to leverage with our city funding of CDBG for 59 homes, and that is just within the city limits. That doesn't include the other homes in the upstate that they are able to provide assistance for. Habitat for Humanity is also another partner of ours, with them completing 3 rehabilitations last month as well. Next slide, Michael. So moving on to new construction, this slide really focuses on our home funds that we have. So I want to remind Council that our annual allocation is somewhere between $200,000 and $300,000 per year. And to Councilor Gibson, your point earlier, these units are capped at those with incomes below 50%, with majority of the time them really servicing those income levels at 30% or below. So you have a variety of partners on our screen: United Housing Connections, Genesis Homes, Homes of Hope as well. Next slide. Moving on to home ownership. So Habitat for Humanity is a partner of ours for down payment assistance. So we've provided $40,000 for 5 homes. And they also have 1 additional unit under construction right now at Joshua's Way, which will complete that full development. And we expect that to be completed soon. In addition, you probably know that we do have a large development with 9 affordable homeownership units in Nicholtown that we have $45,000 of down payment assistance provided. To date, I have about 4 or 5 people who are interested in those units and do qualify for that down payment assistance, and they're working through the process, which includes attending a home buyer education course for that. Next slide. Moving on to our property acquisition, we were able to purchase 2 parcels on Jenkins Street, which is directly across from our Joshua's Way development with our CDBG funds. Another thing to note with our property acquisition, we are really looking at infill parcel development as a way to preserve our neighborhoods. So we're working through the demolition process on those 2 units, and they are included in our infill parcel development addendum, which goes along with our funding application for next year with our home funds. And that application is out right now. We expect applications due back on March 26th to then bring our proposals to our advisory committee and then as well to you guys through the budget process. So we're looking at possibly 2 additional parcels next year as our budget allows. Next slide. Thank you. So if you'll remember, we had the special tax assessment as an addendum to the Bailey bill. So those 2 projects that were approved in 2019 were completed in 2020. So $8.5 million invested in rehabilitation for 181 units. So looking forward, we're going to continue our marketing and outreach initiatives and looking at identifying potential properties for upcoming efforts. So we also have quite a bit of marketing and outreach that was started last year. A couple of our events that were scheduled towards the beginning of the year did end up getting canceled due to COVID while we were working through transitioning everything over to the virtual world. So we were able to complete 3 project profile summaries, which are great for developers to look at and see how the financing works out with leveraging our funds. We were also able to do resident and partner interviews for the Senior Pleasantburg Apartments and the Greenville Summit as well, with the Greenville Summit getting quite a bit of coverage. So we were very proud for that. And that was a special tax assessment property as well. So Councilmember Dow, I know you brought up the hotel conversion earlier. So I am pleased to let you guys know that we do have an upcoming project in our pipeline that's working through staff approval process. And you can see the breakdown of the number of affordable units versus the market rate. So the conversion is for at least 20% of units, and I've calculated this particular project at about 30%. Next slide, Michael.
Is that out at Orchard Park? Is that the property at Orchard Park? What property is that?
The terrain at Haywood.
Okay.
Mm-hmm. So looking at community engagement and empowering our residents and our special emphasis neighborhoods, most of you know about Greenville Dreams, our partnership with the Greenville County Redevelopment Authority and United Way, where county and city neighborhoods get together to talk and network and really empower each other and become advocates for what they want to see in their communities. While we still are involved with that, and you'll see that in the next slide, we have decided to also give our city residents an opportunity to engage with us and engage with other staff. So these sessions will be quarterly. And it's our community empowerment team. So looking at advocacy, some future planning, grassroots leadership development, and really an opportunity for them to tell us what topics they would like to see and like to talk to us about as well.
Rebecca, I'm sorry, but before I forget, can you guys make sure that that's at least on my calendar?
Yes, sir, we can. I believe Councilmember Fleming was in attendance at our last one. And next slide, Michael, I know I touched on it just a little bit. The next one just really details Greenville Dreams. In January, they did have a COVID-19 session, and then in February, city and county planning departments did provide presentations with the city discussing GVL 2040. Some other networking opportunities will come forth later on in the year as well.
And Rebecca, I just wanted to mention that Greenville Dreams is also a member of our Affordable Housing Coalition as well.
Yes. And that is my last slide. If anyone has any questions for myself or Brian.
I've got a question, Rebecca. That's a great presentation. Nice to catch up on what's happening in that Nicholtown project you highlighted. That's been around a long time, so it's good to hear it's moving forward. Any information you can share about the partnership we were working with St. Anthony's for some from single family homes over there?
It's my understanding that their nonprofit partner that they were looking at, they applied to the state and was not funded. So they have had to bring in a new partner who has since got a contract with them. I'm in talks with them about updating the neighborhood, so I'll make sure you're aware of that and get a full update.
That one kind of has a little special emphasis to us because of our work with the Father Pat in the days of old. We were successful, however, I believe, in creating or helping them create additional parcels, were we not?
I believe so. I'll have to double check on that. I know this was something that started with Jenny, so I need to catch myself up a little bit on it. But I do know that at least at a bare minimum, those parcels are still planned for affordable housing development regardless. So.
Okay, would like to catch up because that's a very kind of strategic location for something good to happen. Thank
Agreed.
you.
And Rebecca, if you don't mind, I'm going to sing your praises a little bit. We've spent about 3 months now, Councilmember Gibson and I, only with the great help of Rebecca and her team, in putting together a series of threats to housing security, pathways to home ownership, primarily kind of test driving it in the Nicholtown community, but open to all communities. And as communities are hearing about that series, those are recorded and they can look at them. So we've been trying to push those out for access to all, any communities that want to watch it, because Ken and I, admittedly both felt like we don't know how we're getting people in these units, how we know we need all the affordable housing. Well, now what is the pipeline of people? And Rebecca's team has just done an incredible job on that. And it's a real model going forward, to just help people learn about what are their threats, how close are they to losing their home potentially? And if they are not in that situation and they are seeking home ownership or rental, what are those pathways?
Good.
Concur, ditto, all of that. Great job.
Thank you.
Brian, thank you, and Rebecca for that great update. We're going to move to Angie and Recreation and Events for an update, and we'll follow that up with Merle on economic development.
Can you hear me okay? Hello?
Yeah.
Yep. Okay. Good. Michael, you can go to the next slide, please. Great. Good afternoon, Mayor and City Council. First and foremost, I would like to thank you all for your support in 2020. As it was a challenging year, especially for special events, your confidence in our team truly allowed us to pivot and find ways to safely hold events. And while I may be the one presenting an overview for the past year, I represent a very hardworking and dedicated team. With that being said, I'm going to go ahead and jump into our presentation. This first slide provides an overview of special events and our fiscal year 21 goals. First, to provide safe and secure public gatherings. As y'all know, we had the TD Saturday Market and United Community Bank Ice on Main. We opened both of those in a modified format with recommended safety measures in place. We also extended these events by 19 days, and this was really to help generate foot traffic and help our downtown merchants. Overall, this is probably one of the first years we were able to really track attendance for both events, and we saw about 65,000 total on-site visitors, which we were thrilled with given the circumstances. Typically at the Saturday market,
in our minds, it was about 2,000 to 2,500 people each week. Well, that was what we saw when we limited capacity during COVID. So we know that at the market, we probably see 4,000 to 5,000 people on an average Saturday in a normal year. Next, we expanded and enhanced the use of technology to serve the community. We launched an on-site reservation system for pre-purchasing ice skating tickets. And these are just some of the statistics from those sales. 92% were purchased online. We had 359 out of 549 skate sessions, which were sold out. 30,000 website views and over 2,000 tickets. I know the mayor will be interested in hearing this stat. Were purchased during that 2-week season expansion. So certainly worth expanding that time frame for the ice rink. We also created virtual online programming that provided a platform for over 200 of our local farmers, restaurants, crafters, musicians, and that truly helped promote their businesses. Over 200,000 total website views, and it was interesting to see that our top metro locations were Greenville, Spartanburg, Asheville, Anderson, Charlotte, Atlanta, Raleigh, Durham. And overall, we saw about a 1.7 million reach on social media. Next slide, please. Moving on to downtown placemaking. Our fiscal year goals was to create an engaged and informed community. We launched a downtown merchant liaison group, which meets monthly. The group assists with communicating city information to our downtown businesses and then sharing out any concerns or issues that need to be addressed. We've also created a comprehensive contact list that includes about 300 CBD businesses, and there's a weekly email that's sent out with city updates. This past year, we created an interactive map, and that was specifically for holiday programming. And this provided a really easy way for the public to navigate a lot of the holiday activities that were going on. We also saw about 10,000 website page views for holidays. Next, we identified opportunities to market downtown merchant events and evaluate that impact. We partnered with about 40 of the businesses for a safe trick-or-treat on Main Street event. It was overwhelmingly successful. We did a post-event survey which shared that businesses saw an uptick in sales and the amount of overall traffic downtown, and 100% of them did say that they would want to participate again next year.
Tara,
Yes.
as a dad of a 1 and 3-year-old, we had a blast, and all the other kids were having a blast. What a great idea!
Good to hear. We will certainly pass that along. And lastly, we worked hard to enhance the holiday decor program. 5 of the downtown plazas were festively decorated, and that included over 57,000 lights. We had 22 businesses participate in the annual window decorating contest. And then I'm sure you all noted that we added the poinsettia postcards, which were a great holiday attraction and helped generate some foot traffic downtown. We had 26 of those postcards scattered throughout downtown. And we also created a new sponsorship opportunity to help bring in some additional revenue with that. And lastly, we had 6 city neighborhoods that participated in our first annual Light the Night contest. Next slide, please. Next, to share arts in public places, our goals, public art installations, increasing community involvement, awareness, and engagement in public art, completing the annual maintenance inspection, and then developing policies and procedures to guide the placement of public art. Next slide, please. And this just gives you all an overview, a year in review for 2020. We had 12 public art installations that included Nathaniel Green moving to the Upcountry History Museum, Ladders of Life and the Guardians of Augusta at the Augusta Street Fire Station. Aria was moved to the Sue Simpson Garden and painted that beautiful blue color. We had the Peacemaker bench that was installed in Cleveland Park, and several new additions to Cancer Survivors Park, including Tom's Hat, Welcome Statue, and Hero. And then we also had 5 mural installations on private property. Sorry. We also had 140 art pieces inspected as part of the annual maintenance. And we have begun preparing some draft policies and procedures to help us guide our mural program. Next slide, please. And this just provides, I know the city manager shared some of the accolades we received over the year. This is just a great visual to share with you all. We work very closely with Jennifer Stillwell and the Visit Greenville team, and the Visit Greenville team, and they do a great job of promoting our events and arts in public places. And so we're very proud of, even in a COVID year, the overwhelming great attention that the city received. You'll note even Real Simple did a great feature on the TV Saturday market.
It's nice for our staff members who are new to Greenville to see a picture, a little glimpse of what we really look like. And it really does, except we haven't seen it in a while. Something to look forward to.
That's exactly right.
Tara.
Yes.
Hey, it's Will. Quick question for you.
Sure.
Do we maintain an inventory of places within our city where we would like and therefore intend to locate art?
That is something that we have some prospective locations, but that is certainly something we are looking at and working on, Will.
Thank you.
Well, the Wings exhibit will take up quite a few sites, and there's also online the art map is awesome, where you can go online and take the tour.
And it's no longer just in downtown. I mean, was it that long ago there was virtually no art in downtown, but now we're expanding way beyond downtown, the corridors and all. And I think we're all appreciative of that. Fits right into the comp plan too, with nodes and corridors. Every node needs some art now. Got to add that to the list.
I might be talking about the wrong wings, but Russell, you talking the wings that's going to be a temporary exhibit. You're talking about?
Yep.
More
Hispanic Alliance program.
Yeah, but I mean, okay.
I would challenge us to, when we visit other cities, to walk their downtowns, because it really gives you an appreciation for all the things that we do in our downtown and all the little, just not only the art, but all the detail that's given to it. And it's really something else. And it's a testament to the hard work of our staff, for sure.
Okay, Michael, next slide, please. And lastly, this is our strategic focus areas as we move forward. Under special events, we are looking to develop the appropriate post-COVID action plans in order for the safe return of our events. This is always a priority for us, is to increase our diversity programming at our events. We're looking to revise our special event permits, and that's to add an online application system in order to streamline the process. And then we will continue planning and improving our emergency protocol and placement of mobile infrastructure at our events. Moving into downtown placemaking, we are reviewing our current wayfinding system and looking to create a policy that will provide the framework for destination identity for vehicular traffic. And then lastly, we are always looking at our holiday decor program and looking at opportunities to promote merchant events. And then for arts in public places, we want to continue to explore opportunities for the placement of permanent and temporary public art throughout the city. I know you all have mentioned Wings of the City, and we're looking to have that public announcement next week. Facilitate the selection and installation of public art at the Cancer Survivors Park, and implement a mural program that will help us guide the placement of public art. And with that, I will turn it over to the Greenville Zoo.
Yeah, good.
Good afternoon, everyone. I'm happy to speak with you today a little bit about the Greenville Zoo. We've got to shift gears and think about animals for a little bit. So 2020 Greenville Zoo Year in Review, we maintained our AZA accreditation. What that really means is that we will continue to have the gold standard in animal care and welfare, conservation, education, and professional excellence. We completely renovated our animal hospital this year, which was a huge improvement for the zoo, and it also helped us maintain our accreditation. We separated our outdoor holding and quarantine areas. We constructed a new lion holding area, which was much needed for our male lions so they could be in a climate controlled environment. We added 2 additional full-time zookeepers. And we did a lot of physical facility repairs that were much needed to maintain our accreditation. During the COVID-19 pandemic, we opened the zoo in a modified format with recommended safety measures in place, and we continue to be able to operate safely and efficiently. We had the successful birth of 2 Amur leopard cubs. Amur leopards are critically endangered with less than 100 estimated left in the wild. Successful birth of a Schmidt's Gwinnen, the completion of Primate Row, which houses our colobus monkeys, spider monkeys, Schmidt's Gwinnen, and black and white rough lemurs. And we had a great boo in the zoo this year. We had over 15,000 folks in attendance that generated over $120,000 in revenue. Next slide. So our 22 strategic focus areas for the zoo. The vision for the zoo is the Greenville Zoo will be the best small modern zoo in the country. So how are we going to do that? We have 4 pillars that create the foundation that make this happen. Grow money or grow revenue, no money, no mission. So I can't emphasize that enough. We want to do lots of great things in the conservation community, and we know we can't do it without increasing our revenue. We want to grow our collection. We want to bring additional charismatic animals to the zoo. I'd love to bring tigers to the zoo, for example. I think Sumatran tigers would be a great fit for us here. We want to grow our guest services, our guest amenities and customer service initiatives. We started that by, we're going to bring strollers, wheelchairs, and motorized scooters to the zoo. We also want to take a look at our retail and food outlets to see how we can make improvements there. And we want to grow our conservation programs. What conservation initiatives can we do right here at the Greenville Zoo? We already participate in Amur leopard, Sumatran orangutan, and Maasai giraffe. Again, Sumatran tigers would be a great fit for us here. Next slide.
Bill, the hair on my neck just went up when you said electric scooters at the zoo. Just saying.
Okay. Well, just hang in there. So all of the initiatives that we have developed support the vision and the 4 pillars. So we're going to continue to refine our animal assessment program. What that means is we're going to continue to look for ways to keep our animals comfortable and happy that are as much as we can. We want to complete the outdoor animal ambassador holding area. We're going to design and construct a new leopard holding building, design and construct a new giraffe feeding platform, and develop a public feeding experience. Explore options for making improvements to the food and retail operations. I mentioned that earlier. Maybe consider outsourcing that. Refine our organizational structure. I want to make sure that the leadership under me is in the condition that it needs to be and in the position that they need to be. We're going to continue to assess staffing needs. I want to make sure we have our human resources appropriated where they need to be, and make sure that our folks have the tools they need to do their job. We're going to assess zoo security. I think we have some opportunities and some things that we need to improve on. I mentioned we're going to add the strollers, wheelchairs, and motorized scooters. We're going to plan a holiday event to begin in November. Actually, it's December 2021 this year. We believe that will generate in excess of $150,000 additional dollars in revenue. We're going to identify and plan for new revenue generators. What else can we creatively come up with to add to our bottom dollar here? We're going to perform exhibit assessments. We still have some old zoo, and we want to optimize our exhibits on this site and make sure that we have everything looking good. Develop a new collection plan that includes compelling new exhibits and charismatic animals. So we like to bring tigers, maybe red wolves, a great big alligator, sloth, lots of new exhibits and for people to see and enjoy. We want to develop new master plan projects based on what we find in our collection plan. We want to start a strategic planning initiative that would include an economic impact study, a fundraising feasibility study. We want to continue to develop a donor database, and I'll be working with the Greenville Zoo Foundation on that. Develop new partners and improve existing stakeholder relationships, and then ultimately start plans for a new capital campaign. Again, I would be working with the Greenville Zoo Foundation and obviously others to develop that. Let's see, I wanted to mention that the Association of Zoos and Aquariums represents more than 240 facilities in the United States and overseas, which collectively draw more than 200 million visitors every year. Less than 10% of the 2,800 wildlife exhibitors licensed by the United States Department of Agriculture under the Animal Welfare Act meet the more comprehensive standards of AZA accreditation. Conservation is a priority for AZA accredited zoos and aquariums, and a key part of our mission is to save animals from extinction. Every year, AZA accredited zoos and aquariums spend $230 million on field conservation alone. By way of the Greenville Zoo, the city contributes $200,000 per year towards conservation, both here on site and funding efforts worldwide. And I was trying to keep it short and sweet. So anybody have any questions?
Phyllis Will Brazington, I don't have a question as much as a couple of comments. First of all, so glad you're here and great report. And probably speak for several in this meeting when I say, wow, what a difference 9 or 10 months makes in terms of where we are and where we're headed with the Greenville Zoo. And that's, it's no surprise and by design with your leadership and with the work that's being done by your team at the zoo. So thank you for that. One of the things that you've just done, even in the span of 10 minutes, I think many on council realized that we had over a period of time in the past fallen out of the routine of getting regular updates, this type of report on the state of our zoo. And that was not a good thing. I mean, that was not really, doing a service to the zoo or, our role as caretakers, if you will. And so thanks for that. Let's continue this. And then for the city manager and for Bill, as is deemed appropriate, at some point in the annual cycle, I'd like, as a member of council, to see and understand the synergistic, partnering role between the zoo and the Zoo Foundation. What I'm really trying to say is help us on a somewhat regular basis understand the nature of the present collaboration there as it pertains to fundraising, right? What'd you say? No money, no mission?
Absolutely.
And I guess over time, right, that relationship will naturally evolve and, change to some extent. But that's another thing I think we have a great interest in keeping tabs on and understanding.
I understand. Will do.
So has the baby giraffe been born yet?
Oh, if it had, you would know.
Figured you'd lead with.
We'll have skywriting over Greenville. Baby giraffe is born. So we've been on birth watch since December because we made a mistake in our calculations. So she's due any time. She looks like all the signs are there.
Well, give her our best wishes.
Certainly.
Are we going back to downtown, or have we done downtown? Are we going to talk about downtown anymore, Mr. Manager? Have we
hadn't planned on it, Councilman?
Well, that's I just want to make a point here. There's so many facets of our city that's so important, and I just want to say something about the downtown. And now I'm going to throw an analogy out there, so just bear with me. And I say this often, that downtown really is kind of here. Downtown. Well, I'll just hold on. Downtown really is kind of the front door of our community, and how important it is to continue maintaining the excellence that we see in downtown. And I always give the example of Gonzaga University. You wouldn't have any idea what Gonzaga was except for its basketball team. And I feel like, and it's exceptional university. And I have someone who just does not want me to talk, so I'll let you all go. But I think you get my point. Thanks, everybody.
Okay, thanks, John. Okay, Angie?
I think I'm having trouble. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay, good. All right, Council Member Stahl, the scooters are for disabled. They're not the kind of scooters that you ride around and,
Okay, thank you. Okay.
and have fun. So stop panicking on that. It's okay. We're going to move on to recreation and then parks. So like most departments, recreation has had a difficult year due to COVID, just because the nature of their business. It involves close contact with youth and senior citizens. So we've really had to pull back, much against the wishes of staff. They've found ways to interact with, particularly the seniors, without putting them in harm's way. So, but we have been able to make progress toward our goals. We really understand that it's important for recreation to take an internal look at our current service delivery model. And so we have been conducting an assessment and really looking at everything from who are our users, who are the potential users, are they city residents or non-residents? What are our programming costs? How are we delivering recreation or community services to the community? And so one of the things we just, every now and then, you've got just to take a hard look and what you're doing. Our communities are changing, so our programming needs to change. And we understand this. We will talk more Monday about the facility assessment that has been going on literally for a year since last year's retreat. And then we have been doing repairs to a lot of the community centers over the year, and continue to do that. Next slide, please. So due to COVID, in our desire to be cautious and deliver, continue to be relevant and deliver recreation and community services to our community, our staff had to adapt, and they got creative in that delivery. Throughout the summer, they planned and delivered numerous virtual programs that helped entertain the families, particularly at the beginning when everybody was staying at home. You didn't know what to do. And so they did a lot of online programs, I guess 39 of them, that entertained our community. In addition, staff was able to plan numerous other programs using the safety protocols in place. From sports leagues, they created 370 grab boxes. Because we weren't able to do our summer program, they created weekly boxes for these same children to be entertained, and those were a huge success. And I'm sure the parents really appreciated it, because it was at the beginning of COVID when we didn't know what to do with our kids at that point. So then another point to note, that because of our inability to be in our community centers doing that close contact, the city staff, the city recreation staff, made themselves available for other city services or programs. They did the Census Brigade constantly. If you came into City Hall, they took your temperature on your way in. They did mask giveaways. They then helped other departments, including DECA and the park side, of doing painting and just getting things spruced up when we didn't have people in our centers and around. So they really shared their ability to pitch in and help things keep going. Next slide, please. So looking forward, what we plan to do is continue to look at our service delivery model and what's the best on effectiveness, performance, user interest, and creative program. We also want to identify community partners and foster new relationships that can help that would benefit from our community centers. They're located in 7 of our neighborhoods. They're centrally located. And how do we maximize our reach to our citizens? We also always, if I'm involved, will dust off our emergency protocol, which must include safety training ongoing. It can't be just a protocol sitting on the shelf. So we've already started that process. And because our programs change, and quite frankly, a lot of things that we do and have learned this past year, we will continue to do. We all know how to be around each other in a safer way now. Next slide. So we're going to move on to parks. Again, it was a challenging year, but we're making progress. I think I have talked with each one of you about a favorite park or not so favorite park that hopefully we can turn into your favorite park. We've actually moved out of the old Park Avenue shop. I don't know how many years we've been supposed to have moved out of that shop. It was pretty horrific, but we're out. We still have some junk left there that we're still needing to sort through, literally from the 70s. And but we're happy with the progress. We are in the Lawrence Avenue shop. We are under construction there, making some more organized space, which is requiring a bit of decluttering and letting go of the old. So that is a challenge for people like me, but we are doing it. So we're also currently working on identifying a space for the Unity Park maintenance facility. Before we turn around, Unity Park will be open and we're going to need to maintain it. So we've got to have a place to work out of. So we're working with the design team in trying to identify where that can be. Much like Recreation Parks is establishing and monitoring our level of service. We're making sure all staff are trained and familiar with what that level of service is. And that level of service really comes from our constituents. And we hear it, and sometimes via you, but we are in the process. Every Parks employee has been trained on CityWorks. All their assignments are put into CityWorks, and that is a way for all of the leadership and management to put in those items that we need attention to, and we can monitor that. So it's been very helpful. During the summer, again, the recreation staff really helped us out by conducting weekly park inspections for us. And they went to every single park, identifying what needs to be fixed, not just tall grass, but anything that cracked concrete, something that needed painting, trash cans that were just dirty and overlooked. So these inspections help get us back on track, or at least make the list of where our attention needed to be. Without recreation taking that load, and we're now continuing to do it with the park staff, but it took that staff to help get that under control. And we're not there yet. The parks didn't get in the shape that they're in right now overnight. It's been years, and but it's not going to take us years to get it fixed. We've got a dedicated team, and we're getting there. Let's see. So, when I do want to give a shout out, Megan Young, who you all will hear from on Monday, is leading the Parks Division now and has been an incredible asset. She's so very organized and really getting that SOP and that standard up. So I can't thank her enough for what she's been able to do with limited staff but getting the work done. Next slide.
Angie, before you get to on the neighborhood parks, I just want to inject, so we had this huge emphasis now the last couple of years on neighborhood parks and reinvesting the neighborhood parks, and a lot of planning that went into it, and the funding. And the funding source was primarily from the city-county agreement of a couple of years ago, when the county when the county abolished the recreation district, and suddenly all the city residents had new property taxes on their tax bill. And Malden, Simpsonville, Greenville, Greer, all of us got together and we negotiated with the county on what we get from this new arrangement. And so the city of Greenville, I believe, gets around $577,000 a year. And originally we were putting most of that money toward the neighborhood park plan. By the way, that agreement expires this year. It's renewable automatically for 1 year if the county doesn't decide to change its mind, but it's supposed to be automatically renewable. So it's a big issue coming before us. But do we still have a kind of this is more of a budget question, I guess, a revenue stream for the neighborhood plan, or the two match together where we have the plan plus the revenue stream?
So we have it for right this minute, if that's your answer, for this year. We have MPP money budgeted for neighborhood park plan. Is that what?
Yeah.
So after.
And I know the city manager raised it with the county administrator, because again, our agreement was a 5-year agreement, and every year we get a big allotment. Every city gets an allotment from the county for recreation. That was part of the peace treaty, if you will, between the city and the county. But it's very important we continue to have that appropriation from the county.
Y'all get it, we'll spend it.
But the bigger, I just want to point that out, it's certainly allowed us to do some pretty amazing things in the neighborhood parks. It's just, we need to make sure we continue to have that appropriate.
That's correct.
Angie, I'd like to interject 2 quick things while we're talking about these topics. You gave deserved kudos to Megan. I ditto that, but I just want to salute this pursuit of SOP and level of service. I know from a District 4 standpoint, you and Megan and others have been very helpful to some District 4 based parks that were receiving some expressions of concern stemming from a lack of standard operating procedures and level of service. So please keep that up, and thank you for what's been done over the past 12 months. And with the mayor talking about MPP, and I think Megan's probably on the line, would it be possible at a convenient time just to circulate something out to the council, just as a memory jogger? I'd love just to be reminded in the past 3 or 4 years which parks got MPP investments, and even with an uncertain future, what that looks like for the coming year. In the budget cycle, we've naturally talked about it, but I'd love just to look ahead and see which of our city parks are going to be touched by that.
We will get that to the city manager's office early next week.
Thank you.
So in order to get the neighborhoods in a better condition, we have reached out to our communities and have planned numerous neighborhood park cleanups. Some of you have been involved. Councilmember Dow has been there, and in the pouring down rain, but it has been a way that we can get into some of these parks that have been somewhat neglected and do some major cleanup. So we will continue to do that. I think we have 4 more scheduled. We were supposed to do one this weekend, but it's very steep terrain, and with all the rain, we just we pushed it off a couple of weeks. But we will continue to do that. And we've replaced numerous playgrounds. I know some of these pictures all of you will have recognized, because we sent you pictures along for you to share with your constituents. And we are very excited that we completed our first tree inventory, and hopefully we'll continue that initiative. Next slide. The good news is our focus for this year is right out of the playbook of your AM discussion. A lot of what you were saying is right here on this slide, and the slide was made before your AM discussion. So that standard of open space and what are the best practices of our parks, and how do we take just an empty lot and make it more than an empty lot and make it a true place for people to gather. And one of the things we have learned from COVID is people want to get outside, they want to gather, and that's a good thing. And people kind of turned their backs on parks for a while, and now we hear and see that people they want to be with our parks. The Parks and Recreation Department wants to help lead the city in achieving the goals of 2040, especially when it relates to trees and open space. We're here to serve you and the community in achieving those goals. Next slide is Unity Park. You have built it, and now we need to make sure that the shiny never dulls. It's not quite built yet, but it will be here before we'll be here this spring. So we're looking forward to opening it, marketing it, and managing this incredible space. But while we do not take our eyes off the other 30-something parks, we've got to keep them all up to our standard, the Greenville standard, which is where we hope for parks to be. Questions?
Angie, how positioned are we given that we've been almost a year and a half out of the business of hosting after school things in our community centers from COVID? If the school district flips the switch and they're back in school in a regular model this fall, are we looking at that and what, how that's going to work in this new world, and what we see our role in it is in terms of community centers and after school?
Yes, ma'am. We are constantly working on that right now. And how does that work? And where does it work? We've got some challenges there that will be a discussion for another day. But we are the recreation team and we're working on it constantly.
Good. Thanks.
Any other questions?
Thank you, Angie and Bill. Great update. Okay, I think we'll try to get through economic development, leave a few minutes for wrap-up comments, and I think we'll have to push a couple things until a future date. I think we're running up on it. So Merle, I'm going to pitch it over to you for economic development.
Thanks, Mr. McDonough, sir. Appreciate it. Mr. Mayor, council members, appreciate you guys giving me a little bit of your time this afternoon. Michael, if you go to the next slide, please. So the team continues to work to get through the annual work plan and meet a lot of the goals that were set. And so just going to give you an update here. So as it relates to retail recruitment and retention, based on some of the data that you guys saw in the work session, we continue to meet with our existing retailers. To date, we've contacted 20. We've contacted 28 of our retail brokers and owners and continue to work through that along with the regular real estate breakfast that we host. We also continue to meet with those owners and brokers. The Buxton detail, we finally got trained on it, and we've provided some information in particular to Robert Hughes and the Brooks Brothers space, and so he's taken that and he's running with that. As it relates to the clustering and block strategy, we're going through a gap in clustering analysis now in an effort to hopefully have that plan solidified here sometime in March, and then we'll begin executing to that one. The retail marketing, Beth and her team continues to do a great job of working with Emily. They've got a draft version of the video And it's exciting and it's great. And I know they're working on a couple other pieces of that, but that's headed to fruition here very soon. And we're just finalizing some of our own planning efforts in an effort to share with Beth and her team. Once we think how we want to get that video out there and what the next steps should be for the marketing piece. And we'll be sharing that with Beth and her team here sometime in the next month. I continue to go out and tour all the available spaces with Mary Douglas and some of the other team members here. And it's an effort just to get me acclimated into what spaces we do have outside of the special emphasis areas that we've got. Next slide, please.
Hey, Merle, as you're shifting slides,
yes, sir.
At some point in the coming weeks, maybe during a small group session, it'd be awesome, in my view, just to see a real example of that Buxton data. I mean, I think we were intrigued learning about it a month or two ago when you first referenced the pursuit of that. Now that you've been trained and you're putting it to use, I'd love to see kind of, just for curiosity, what it's all about.
Yes, sir. We can do that for sure. The next slide is going to just touch briefly on those special focus areas. Again, this is just to remind you all of those areas in particular. And again, I've met with all of them and working with the owners and the brokers of those spaces in an effort to find potential retail or restaurants into those areas. Next slide, please. This is some of the people that are on the group that we put together on this retail brokers group. What I want to make sure everyone understands is that it's not a monthly or quarterly update. I'm constantly emailing them and sharing my own ideas, and Mary Douglas is doing the same, and they're providing us feedback on a weekly basis. At a minimum, again, sometimes we're dealing with them, sometimes daily. Next slide, please. Okay, so in the pipeline right now, we've got 43 prospects, and there's the breakdown of them all. What I'll say is that there's actually, of the 43, 8 of them we're actively engaged with right now. They've either shown interest or they're actually in a location or a site search right now. And that breakdown, there's 1 national, 5 local, and then 2 that are regional that we're dealing with right now. We continue to have a challenging retail climate. Obviously, we do have some high downtown rental rates. And as it relates to some of the brick and mortar and the bankruptcies that are happening, we had a great CoStar report that came out that detailed some of that. And then some of the changing consumer shopping habits. And in one in particular that I'll highlight is some of the retail space we're running into is larger than what most of the retailers need. And when I say larger, I'm talking almost double the size, the space that we are coming across as far as some of the prospects needing. But the good thing is that we continue to see activity and interest in the downtown area in particular.
Hey, Merle, John DeWorkin here.
Yes,
Can you
sir.
break down, I might have missed it. Can you break, we got 43 prospects. Can you break down the number of prospects that have come to us and the number of prospects that we've actually gone out to seek?
Yes, sir. So of the 43, you see the breakdown there. So and please don't hold me to this. I'm just picking it up from my mind here. I want to say probably a third of those are ones that we have that reached out to us, and so the other 2/3 are what we've sent correspondence to, whether it's an email, whether it's a phone call or the likes of that. But 2/3 of them we've actually reached out proactively to at this point. But a third of them, yeah, I would say a third of them have definitely reached out to us, or we've gotten, they didn't necessarily reach out to us, we've gotten them from you all, city council members, we've gotten from other allies, from other brokers like that, but a third of them have come to us directly in some way.
And is this a fundamental change from how we used to do economic development? I mean, have we always gone out and tried to get people and companies, or did we used to just allow people to, or did we just have people come in and we would handle it from there?
So Councilmember DeWorkin, what I would say is that I know of trips that have happened in the past,
Yes.
where our economic development team has gone out and actually actively tried to recruit. Now, I think that
maybe that's a question for the mayor more than you, Merle.
Yeah, the mayor has.
Yeah. I don't know if he had anything to add. Just he's got the historical perspective.
Yeah, every retailer has a story, and I think all I can say is that we've been very successful in tapping people on the shoulder and say, hey, take a look at downtown, and landed several of them, Mass General Store being the first, but the first of about 6 or 7. But there's some lessons learned about that. Some of the best tips just came from people who were vacationing someplace and saw a retailer that we ought to check into. I mean, you never know where the tip may come from, but people who are successful in a similar downtown close by in North Carolina, Georgia, seem to be a good road, a good path. But Merle knows all that, so now we can do it with confidence. I think in the years past, we had to beg and plead people to come to a place they'd never heard of. Well, we're past that now. Until COVID, people were indeed knocking on our door for the first time really ever. But now we have to go back and knock on some of their doors, but at least they know where Greenville is. And we're giving them a great opportunity to locate in the best downtown in America, perhaps. And I think at this point, people will be surprised to know there actually are vacancies. That's the reaction I get from some people.
Awesome. Good. Merle, that's all I got for now. Thank you.
No, I appreciate that, sir. But to that point, I'd just like to add to as the mayor articulated, I would just add that what I would say that I've seen, an additional piece to what the mayor has said is that we now have a more concerted effort in the sense of the list, and that's been provided by you all as well as other staff and team members in the city, as well as our own data, as well as some of that Buxton data. And now we're actively going out and then trying to reach out to them, as well as the follow-up. I would say, Councilmember DeWorkin, that what we're doing a better job at now is the follow-up, because as I've told the team here, is you just can't contact them once. There's no way. You've got to contact them 7 times at a minimum, and then more after that. And so that's the concerted effort that we're doing a better job of tracking it, to make sure that we're using, whether it's marketing or whatever it might be. But that's what I would say is a little more concerted effort, sir.
Thank you.
I heard a comment a few months ago by a retailer that's looking at Greenville, and he made one comment that I thought was really funny. He said, we understand there are only, I can't remember how many, he said only 7 retail spaces left in downtown Greenville. See, that just tells you, I mean, look, a little competition here. Of course, I didn't tell. I said, yeah, that's right. They're going fast too. You better get down here. I mean, that was during COVID. I mean, okay, we're still pretty hot commodity, but we do have challenges with the high rents, and the square footage issue is a real. And by the way, just a little sidebar, we're having great success, right on our noses without doing anything down at Augusta Road. The Augusta Road section of West End is booming. It has been for some time, but it's especially now. They've got about 2 new women's stores on that block, and a lot of activity. And we don't even have to do that. Our focus has to be on the harder part, which is North Main, Hyatt, that area.
Merle, I was going to ask about that. Can you speak towards rental rates in the West End area versus Augusta Road area versus maybe the Hyatt end? Are the ones on the, in the Augusta Road area close to that 20 to 25? And maybe that's why they're able to lease them. And how much, to me, your rent rate has to be what the market will bear. So it's almost telling me people are happy to sit with them vacant and just wait till they get that rent rate and can ride before COVID. Is that true?
Well, I think what we're finding, Councilmember Dow is that yes, so in different parts of town, definitely the rental rates are some are higher, some are lower. That being said, I think what we're finding is that some of the spaces, the owners are debt free on them, and because of that, they can go either way. They can either help and go a little bit lower, or they can go a little bit higher and just sit on it and say, listen, I think it commands this, and we can wait on it. What we're trying to do is educate everybody, especially by showing some of the data that Mary Douglas is pulling from CoStar on our markets that are similar to us that aren't in the state of South Carolina. Hey, listen, you may want to be careful about this, and has similar demographics to who live here and then who's visiting here as well. And then just showcasing that in an effort to say, hey, listen, let's try to work together because we all want to get to that end goal.
One of the things that we did years back, now John, it might help you. We recognize all of the businesses that have been in Greenville, the city of Greenville for, I guess, 20 years or more, something like that. And we gave them a small little stipend, et cetera. And council individually, we went to them because I had 6 or 7 of them. And I had one in my district who'd been there for 39 years. I'm saying, hello. And so, I think, that if we maybe sometime even have on our website or something that where we encourage the new business of the week or the year, or if we have some that have been 20, 25 years, something that we can do as an incentive to encourage them and let them know that we appreciate them, but we need to still continue to do that. But the recruitment of businesses, yes, the years we've gone out to get them, and once we used to work with the Chamber of Commerce, and then of course we moved on to something different.
Well, thank you for that, and I think to Lillian, your point, and to Dorothy, your point too. Dorothy always says, we're not the cheap date anymore. I always think that's a good analogy and fun. We are an outstanding city with an outstanding downtown, and I was just particularly interested in our efforts, and Merle, you seem like you're all over it. Our efforts reaching out to the best of the best and saying, hey, take a look at Greenville. So that's good stuff. Appreciate that very much.
Thank you, yes, sir. Next slide, please, Mike. All right, let's get a little bit into the office recruitment and retention. Just some updated stats that I wanted you guys all to be aware of. So year to date, fiscal year, this current fiscal year we're in, we've worked with or had an opportunity to provide some sort of information or data to 42 prospects. Currently, we've announced 4. And what I consider active, right? So you can have 42 prospects in the pipeline, but we all know they're all not gonna. Some of them are real, some of them are not. And so that being said, of that, we've got 16 active prospects that Mike Panasco continues to work with and cultivate, and that runs the gambit of everything coming through South Carolina Department of Commerce, the Upstate Alliance, and the Greenville Area Development Corporation, and then those that have come to us directly. And what's great about this ecosystem is they're providing information to us, all our team members, but we're also providing information to them. And what I mean by that is there's been a couple prospects that have come to us that 100% do not fit in the city. However, there's an opportunity for them within the county, and we've sent them to GADC in an effort of hopefully trying to keep them at least in the area. Of that, we've had 82 existing industry unique touches, and that includes the Proterras, the Milwaukee's, and the likes of all those. Of that, we've had 36 unique touches for business development, and that is a total of people that we've either touched, talked to, And in particular, most of those events are being hosted and done by the Upstate Alliance. So we've completed 3 of those. We've got 1 event scheduled, and then we continue to provide input to them on some potential marketing trips. So they've reached out to Mike Panasco and us about some areas that we are interested in looking to potentially go on a marketing trip with. Now I will tell you they're full steam ahead. They're traveling and doing everything else, and Mike and I we're evaluating what is the right trip and the likes to go on with them. And then as an effort, I've got some meetings set up with the city manager next week. I want to, as he's mentioned to you guys, that job development grant that you guys have heard of and done, and we're going to refocus our efforts on that, because I believe at this point we may have to get some of that those dollars off the sideline, because I think we've lost at least one deal because of that, and I think I have a way forward that I'm going to be presenting to the city manager and his team. Next slide, please. All right, as it relates to entrepreneurial and innovation development, so we continue to support Next and their facilities, and in particular, we do have the Next on Main office that's over there. And it's great. Our team continues to rotate through there. So we have somebody over there on site at least 1 day a week. I do believe, just as an example, I think Emily had told me that she ran into the mayor over there. I think he was in a meeting maybe yesterday. And it's great because we're getting a lot of synergy with those partners, including Venture South, and in particular, Anthony Herrera and his Office of Innovation and Entrepreneurship out at Furman University. I want to highlight GLDC. They're doing some incredible things surrounding entrepreneurial and innovation development, and in particular within our special emphasis neighborhoods. So there's an effort there that's we're going to be partnering with Village Launch and Community Works in an effort to beef up minority entrepreneurism and innovation, and an effort hopefully to get them over to the chamber and their MBA program, and then eventually into Anthony and his team with the Greenville Starts program. And so that's an opportunity that GLDC partnered with Greenville Starts, or I apologize, with Furman University on this Greenville Starts. It's a program to train future entrepreneurs. They're scheduled to hopefully launch that sometime this fall in 2021. And then one effort that we're still developing and trying to figure out a little bit more about is this investor boot camp that Venture Carolina offers, and it's a program to train future capital investors. And what I like about this is it's all early stage money, and they've done enough research in the Greenville area alone, how much latent capital is actually sitting out there on the sideline. And what we're looking at doing with them is putting together this boot camp to get that capital off the sideline and into the companies within Next and other places, Village Launch, and all those other places that have this entrepreneurism and innovation ecosystem. We continue to work with the Upstate Alliance as it pertains to their marketing and talent attraction initiatives. And then I've had the inaugural GVL Innovation Alliance. This is something that both Craig Brown and Toby Stansel are supporting. And it's an effort to, as you guys have all said, get all the people at the table and then work together collaboratively and communicate, and try to, move this innovation and entrepreneurism forward. Next slide, please.
Can we?
Yes, sir.
Hold on a second. I got a couple questions here. We're talking about, I know we're talking about an economic development strategic plan as it relates to the comp plan. Where are we on the innovation entrepreneurism? Are we in the process of putting together a plan? Where are we on that?
Can I pause you on that one? It's going to be talked about either on the next slide or the next slide after that.
Yep. Okay. So we'll table that. CEO search for Next. Are we doing that? Is that someone talking about that?
Yes, it's actively underway, and I'm a participant in that process, John.
Thanks. And then I had mentioned two more things real quick, just suggestions. I had mentioned this. If it's a terrible idea, tell me. But I don't think so. I think it might behoove us to, I have mentioned this, I think it might behoove us to have a landing spot for South Carolina Department of Commerce in this facility. And it doesn't have to be but a room with a logo, and it gives them a landing spot. So, you know, they're up here often. And so they're probably borrowing, you know, law firm boardrooms and other people's, and might be a good little landing spot for them. And then the final thing is, I'll keep beating this drum, Merle and John McDonough, but you know, you've got a lot of institutional knowledge of people in Greenville and the upstate, between council members, Knox, the mayor, me, and I think it's good that we got some newer folks. I mean, you know, Merle, you're new to Greenville. John McDonough, you got a year in, and our senior staff, all very able, and there's some good things about, you know, being newer. You don't have all the baggage, I guess, that maybe someone's been here a long time. But use us. Like, we know all the connecting the dots. So make sure you're using us. So that's it for this slide. Thanks everybody.
Yes, sir. Next slide, please, Michael. All right, so as it relates to the focus area number 4 with the ED marketing, so again, just to update everyone, we have finished our interviews with the advertising PR firms. I know I was not able to present the marketing campaign to everyone, and so it's slightly delayed in that effort, but I know the city manager is going to allow me to do that, so that's great. And then once that's done, based on that, we will go ahead and finalize the negotiations and the likes of all that, and then begin execution with anticipated initial completion in June of 2021. The partnership opportunities, we continue to partner on a marketing perspective with the Upstate Alliance. I've got another meeting scheduled tomorrow with the Greenville Drive. I hope everybody saw that they announced their spring schedule, and we have this Entrepreneur and Innovation Night coming up. And so we're going to go ahead and help them both market that and get that programming put into place. And then the GLDC and SEDOC Relentless Grant, GBL Starts program, I can't harp on that one enough. They anticipate putting somewhere between 50 and 75 new entrepreneurs through their cohorts within a year. And so that's an opportunity for us to get new entrepreneurs off the sideline and get their initiatives started, hopefully funded, and then hopefully the sky is the limit after that. And then Next Upstate as well got I got a grant as well, and they've got multiple programs that we're going to be partnering with them on as well. Next slide, please.
Hey, I'm sorry. I'm sorry. I keep interrupting. I'm going to put another plug in, and I know we've talked about it, but go back a slide if you don't mind. I will put another plug in that using advertising PR firms, I understand the benefit of using traditional, using a part of that traditional. And John, I know McDonough and everybody's on the same page with this, but I'll continue to put the plug to make sure that we're looking at the newer ways of being able to reach people. So, and I know you agree, and we all agree. I just want to make sure we're saying that out loud too. So
yeah,
thanks.
John, we want to couple the creative with the digital, I think is what you're talking about. And you may not have seen what we're working on. I know some members have during the recent briefings. I don't think you've seen it yet. I think you'll be excited about it.
You're right.
So hopefully, yeah, we're a little ahead of you on that one. So maybe next week we can catch up with you. And I think we had one or two others, maybe too.
Yeah, you'll, John. It's good.
Awesome. I'm not surprised you're ahead of me on things. Believe me.
No, I just got the schedule ahead, but that's a really good point about it is a digital world.
Yeah, cool. Thanks.
Schooling.
Great, thank you. And then as the city manager, I know talked about initially in his introduction, one thing that we wanted to make sure you guys saw, obviously the public-private partnerships is huge, and we want to continue that. And here's just an update. So obviously we've completed a couple of those, continue to work through the Grand Bohemian and the McLaren public-private partnerships. And then those that are planned, obviously City Sculpt, and then UCB and their MCIP, and then the Jackson Field Street one, and then potential ones we don't know yet. We continue to work with Project Vitamin D. That's an exciting project that hopefully we'll see continue to move forward. And then another one that we have a potential for is a Flatiron building in the village of West Greenville. Next slide, please.
Is that a list of that last slide? The last slide a minute. Yeah, I don't know where this exactly fits, but I do think another part of the role of economic development is in the downtown is to just like in retail, we have targeted areas, geographic areas. We need to do the same thing downtown. We always know with that. We have some strategic sites. One would be the auditorium site. The other two would be the two GTA sites, the parking deck, bus transfer site, as well as one on Augusta Road. I mean, those three stand out because we have our hands on all those three. And then you might add, then there are a few others. There's the Earl Furman properties and there's the Jackson Hughes properties. But these are the sites where people are looking at those sites for economic development and development downtown. And it seems to me we should be very, very, very engaged and proactive on those sites.
Yes, sir, Mr. Mayor.
And we haven't always been that way in the past. I think that's been our problem. We got to be in there making a few things happen, and we maybe deciding which ones are the priorities.
Well, I can tell you, Mr. Mayor, so of the ones that you've mentioned, there are several that we are currently working on, and I do know that the city manager's office is working on some of them as well. So they are actively being worked on.
Okay.
And now this is my last slide, and then I can open up to any more questions. So we continue to work through the Mayberry Street one. We heard loud and clear about the need for affordable housing. And then, what we're trying to figure out once again is that determine the appropriate city role and risk tolerance and the likes of all that. GVL 2040, I'd love to, I know you got you heard about it all this morning. I just wanted to tell everybody that it's great. Planning already reached out to, I know both myself and Matt Efert and his team, and we've already started meeting on it. And so we've been coalescing around nodes as well as a bunch of other things. So all that stuff is headed, in my mind, again, the right direction. But it's great that Jay and his team already brought myself and other team members in as well. The Innovation and Entrepreneurship ED Strategic Plan. So to your question, Council Member Workin, what I did was I pulled out the HRNA 2019 Office and Employment Growth Strategy because I didn't want any duplication, right? I already know that you guys already have paid for and have that plan already in hand. And so before I recommend anything to the city manager and his team upstairs, I wanted to make sure that I did not duplicate any work coming out of there. So there's some good stuff that is in that I've pulled out that I want to make sure we can capitalize on, but build on that. And so my goal is to hopefully have everything in place and be able to show the city manager and his team what that potential scope of work is going to look for with regards to this innovation and entrepreneurship economic development strategic plan. So hopefully that answers a little bit of your question, Council Member.
Let me add a little more to that, Merle. It's specifically to Councilman DeWorkin's comments on the subject. John, one of the things we're working on with the small board at Next right now is obviously the leadership piece, which is well underway. I think we've got a great slate of candidates that's going to be coming forward. And one of the first orders of business for that new CEO is going to be the development of the entrepreneurial support strategic plan. So, obviously we want to work hand in hand with them on that. They really are our focus of effort there. So I think that's what we're gonna be right in the middle of that. Merle will be in the middle of it. I'll be involved in it, and that'll be coming.
That makes sense.
That'll be coming
sense
this summer sometime.
Yep, that makes sense.
Okay.
Thank you for that. I think, hey, and not only thank you for that, I'm telling you, this is something to get excited about. Really is. This is something to be really, really excited about. I am. I hope others are as well.
We are. We are. Merle, anything else from you before we hear from council?
No, sir, that's it. That was my last slide. Yes, sir.
All right. Well, thank you so much for that update. Comments, questions for Merle?
If Merle isn't successful, none of us will be successful. If Merle is successful, all of these things we want to do are possible.
No pressure, Merle.
Yeah, with that, enjoy your weekend, Merle.
Yes, sir. Yes, thank you.
Well, I think we've run up on it. I think we've actually gone over what we had allotted for today. I know it's a long day of sitting, but boy, it's been tremendous. We're going to need to hear from council, about our priorities. I don't know that we need to change a whole lot, but I am interested, and we're all interested in your feedback on that. Do we need to tweak the list we have? Do we need to add, subtract? Most of these things, I think. We're making good progress on. A lot of them are called out in the comprehensive plan. So that's number one. Number two, I want to thank you for your time, your great feedback over the last day and a half. And I really want to thank the staff and everybody that had a hand in putting this together. This isn't something that just comes together in a couple days. This team's been working on this in some cases for months. And I hope that shows in the quality of what was presented over the last day and a half. We've still got some work to do that we weren't able to get to in a day and a half. So we'll be following up with you in the next couple of weeks on some of these items that we weren't able to get to in the last day and a half. But thank you to everybody who's participated. We will be making these sessions available publicly online. They have been recorded, so for people that weren't able to watch or tune in, they'll have the opportunity to do that. And it's a nice thing for us to have in our archives going forward. So with that, thank you.
Yeah, John, thank you very much. I just want to say about this list, if we could just say this right now, let everybody kind of sleep on everything and then send you ideas about how this top 10 list might be manipulated a little bit. I had this feeling though, and some themes that maybe need to be more expressed than they were originally as time moves on. But beyond that, I've talked to Councilman Stahl about this. Maybe he can help you with this idea. I think there's kind of a difference between having the top 10 list, which might turn into 12, and then having kind of a more of a public, the one's kind of a private list for us. And then you have sort of what's on the public list. And I guess I point to the comp plan as a good example. I like the way the comp plan was able to kind of pull everything together in about 5 categories. Easy, bite size, but it was all a matter of how they manipulated the language. I mean, green space, public space, quality of life. And I'd still like to see us have something we can have as our public face. And here are our priorities, which maybe would look a lot like the comp plan priorities, frankly. And then under that, we have all these 10 or 11, 12 things. But in any event, I think nothing's changed on this list. I mean, these are still our priorities. We've probably added a few things and some nuances, but otherwise, great job today. It was exciting.
Yeah, John, everybody, thank you. A couple days well spent.
Great job, guys.
Thank you.
Okay.
Thanks, everybody.
All right, everybody, have a nice weekend, and please do forward me your comments. I look forward to talking with council more about this. The last time we did it, we wordsmithed it over the course of several days to get what we ended up with. So I'll definitely appreciate your help on doing that this time around. So thank you all so much. Thank you, everybody that participated. Everybody have a nice weekend, and we'll be back at it on Monday. See you then.
Thank you. All right, good to be with everybody. Take care.